Hello, everybody. We are live. Good morning. Happy Monday, May 18th, 2026 at 12 p.m. Eastern. I did have to get a little bit later start today than I normally like to do, but you'll learn later in this live why that is, and I have a little surprise for you. I think you're going to be excited. Okay, so I'll just let you know I'm a little exhausted, but that's not gonna, the show must go on, as they say. All right, so today we're gonna be talking about the ongoing legal battle, sort of drama, whatever you want to call it, saga between the Kardashian Jenners and none other than Ray J. Now, most of us, I'll speak for myself, became aware of Kim Kardashian because she was involved in this tape with Ray J. That before that, I maybe had heard her name here and there. Maybe I had heard Kardashian. Maybe I had heard about how her dad was a lawyer. Maybe I had seen her walking around with Paris Hilton, etc., etc. But I didn't really pay any attention to this person or this family by extension until there was this supposed tape. Okay, we'll call it the Cabo tape. And pretty much, this is my recollection of things. This was, about 20 years ago at this point. But pretty much, the tape, the Cabo tape, and Kim Kardashian's relationship with Ray J and the Norwood family is kind of one of the things that allowed the whole family, the whole Kardashian clan and the Jenner clan to be, I don't know, burst onto the scene, whatever you want to like. Basically, they've built their media empire, and it all can be traced back, from what I remember, to the sorry, there's some ads on this page. It's distracting me. It can all be traced back to that tape. If you recall, you probably don't, but you might, that the whole Keeping Up with the Kardashians show, the first episode, the pilot episode in 2007, was based on the storyline of this tape. Okay, so fast forward almost 20 years, the Kardashians moved their show from whatever network it was on at the time over there to Hulu. And yet again, they launched the whole show on the storyline of Kim Kardashian's son, I think it might have been Chicago, found a version of the tape, we'll say, on Roblox. Okay, so two different shows, entire reality series have been launched on it. Well, one thing leads to the next, and now we ended up in a situation where the Kardashian Jenners are in a lawsuit against Ray J. Maybe Ray J sued them. Something got dismissed. Something was supposed to be sealed, but it wasn't. And it's just a bit confusing rigmarole, okay? Rigmarole, whatever you call it. That being said, I took it upon myself now to go into the court documents, into the legal filings, and try to get my arms around what exactly is even going on here, because it's pretty confusing at this point. There was a settlement, there was maybe $6 million. Then Ray J said something about a RICO, the TMZ this, and the Twitch stream that, and the Alabama Barker this, and it's just like, okay, stop. Let everybody just calm down. Let's get to the bottom of what's actually going on. And so that is what I'm hoping by the end of today's live stream, everybody is able to come away from the live stream, the live show, with somewhat of an understanding of what has happened in this actual lawsuit and what we can expect to look forward to, what are the next steps, what's coming up, etc., etc. So that is what this video is going to be about. We are going to get into actual legal filings that I purchased with my own money. And many of them I have read, many of them I have not read. So some of this is going to be me reacting to it in real time as well. But I thought, since this is like a 20-year long thing in the making, I thought we could rewind to just a few months ago, kind of the second half of last year in 2025, September 24th, 2025. We'll start here with this this article from page 6 that was distracting me with its ads just moments ago. And we'll just start here to kind of have some sort of starting point. We're not starting necessarily all the way back in 2002, although we will get around to that time period as we keep moving through today's video. So this is, like I said, a page 6 article from September 2025. This was about 8 months ago. This article came out, and it says, the title is, Ray J makes shocking claims that he's helping feds build case against Kim Kardashian and Kris Jenner. Ray J made a shocking claim that he's working with the feds to build a RICO case against ex-girlfriend Kim Kardashian and her mom, Kris Jenner. Quote, the federal RICO I'm about to drop on Kris and Kim is about to be crazy, the singer told Krishan Rock, which, girl, we're not even going to get into her. But that's who he was talking to on a live stream back in the fall of last year. And remember, what was going on in the fall of last year around September was when Diddy was facing his sentencing and all of that from his case that had happened in May. And then he was found guilty and not guilty in July, around July 4th. And then I think it was August, September timeframe that he was sentenced. And so, again, he wasn't found guilty on all charges. He was only found guilty on 2 out of the 5 charges. I've covered that extensively. I'm not going to get into that today. But it was in the context of Ray J commenting on and talking about the Sean P. Diddy Puff Daddy Combs case, which was decided last year. He got found guilty and not guilty last year, and he's serving time in prison as we speak right now for what aspects of the case he was found guilty on. So that was the context, just to remind y'all. I'm talking about, I'm on the news every day. I'm going to say a lot of stuff, Ray J said. Anybody that's cool with Kim, they need to tell her now. The feds is coming. There's nothing I can do about it. And he added, quote, it's worse than Diddy. Now here's a picture of them. Very interesting. She's wearing like what appears to be some type of engagement ring here, but that's them when they were, I guess when they were dating. Let's see. The hitmaker, 44. So I guess this is Ray J. Certainly isn't Kim. He provided no other details or explanation in the clip, and no other information substantiated his claim. Representatives for Kim Kardashian and Jenner and Ray J, none of them immediately returned page 6's request for comment. RICO investigations fall under the Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act, which is typically utilized to prosecute drug cartels and mafia and mob boss crimes. Okay, so in July, this is last year, obviously July hasn't passed from this year yet, disgraced rapper Sean P. Diddy Puff Daddy Combs, 55 years old, was found guilty of transportation to engage in prostitution, but he was found not guilty on the more serious trafficking and racketeering charges in a widely publicized federal trial. He's scheduled to be sentenced on October 3rd. Okay, so good. I'm glad we got that reminder. Right. So he was going to be being scheduled on October 3rd when these comments were being made in September. This isn't the first time Ray J, who infamously appeared in that Cabo tape with Kim Kardashian, has hinted at such accusations. So he has hinted at these accusations before. In May last year, when the Sean P. Diddy Puff Daddy Combs trial had just started, amid discussions about the then pending RICO charges against Diddy, Ray J also again had directed attention to a potential RICO case against the Kardashians, specifically Kris Jenner and Kim. So that's the ones that Ray J seems to have beef with. That's the ones he really takes the most issue with. Kim Kardashian, who is his ex-girlfriend, and Kris Jenner. And there's a lot of details I'm kind of sparing at the time being, or for the moment, because we're going to get into them when we read these legal filings in just a little while on this live show. So this is a quote from him. If you told me that the Kardashians were being charged for racketeering, I might believe it. He said this to TMZ in the context of a documentary that was being made about Diddy. Now, in September 2022, Ray J had slammed the reality star mother and daughter duo after Kris Jenner had claimed in a lie detector test. Put a 1 in the chat if you remember that lie detector test. In a lie detector test, Kris Jenner had said she did not release the S tape that her daughter had made. And remember, she famously passed the lie detector test, which was interesting to me for sure. She said she did not release the tape that they made with her daughter. It's so nasty. Her daughter and her daughter's ex-boyfriend, Ray J. Now, interestingly, she could still be telling the truth and still could have had something to do with it. Like, did she release the tape is a different question than did she produce it or have any say in the production or have any say in the release. We all know Vivid Entertainment is who technically released the tape, but we'll get more into those details as we move along. Ray J had posted a video on Instagram in 2022. This is about 4 years ago or so, a little bit less. You effed with the wrong black man, Kris Jenner, and at Kim Kardashian. He captioned this Instagram video. Look, she got her monarch butterfly. Project Monarch, everybody. Anyway, he said, I don't give a F how old this bleep is. What you're trying to do to me is almost inhumane and foul at the highest level. F this being just racist. This is wrong to do to anybody. You think you can just F people over and get away with it forever. Now, 2022, he was making these statements on Instagram and elsewhere, but just to give you some context, 2022 is when Kris and Kim and the rest of the Kardashian Jenner clan were starting their new reality show, the new one on Hulu. Again, they launched the whole thing on this. Ray J is going to release a second tape. Chicago saw the tape on Roblox, which that's horrible and horrifying. Like, that tape should not be on Roblox. Don't get it twisted. I'm not sitting here trying to argue that tape should have ever been on Roblox. That's horrible and terrible, and it should have been deleted or never been able to be uploaded. But that's neither here nor there, you know, with regard to the major happenings in this case. So, back to this article. This is just to give y'all a little bit of context, reminder, overview, and somewhat of a starting point for today's live stream, this article that I'm reading right now. Now, prior to Ray J's social media rant, Kris Jenner had answered a series of questions on an episode of The Late Show with James Corden. She was hooked up to a lie detector test at the time. The test's administrator, a man by the name of John Grogan, determined that Kris was telling the truth. Ray J, father of two, subsequently labeled the S tape a negative turning point in his life. He said that probably was the worst thing that's ever happened to me if you look from then to now. He told Cam Newton, which keep him in mind because we're going to be talking about him a little bit in today's video, but that is a large part of the BJ Investigates that's going to be coming out on this topic a little bit later today after this live show. But he said, Ray J said, that's probably the worst thing that ever happened to me if you look from then to now. The worst thing that's ever been put on my name. It's the most disgusting, the most illegal, and the most distasteful, especially when you have a daughter. Okay, so that is just a little bit of a starting point, a jumping off point. Okay, so that article came from September 2025, about 7-8 months ago. And then I want to bring up a couple other additional articles from more recently that have been talking about this lawsuit itself. Okay, so just to give you some sense of what has been being said in the media, and then we'll get into the actual filings from the lawsuit. So this is an article from last month in The Hollywood Reporter. The title is Kim Kardashian Loses Bid to Keep $6 million Settlement with Ray J Private. Okay, so Kim Kardashian wanted to keep the settlement private, $6 million to be exact. That's what this article is reporting, but she was unsuccessful. And then, of course, we ended up finding out about it. The two sides are locked in a court battle over the 2023 deal, and statements from Ray J that the government is pursuing a criminal case against the Kardashian clan. Eesh. Anyway, the deal relates to legal barbs exchanged. Hold on, let me see if I can make this reader view. Yeah. Okay. The two sides are locked in a court battle. Okay. A court has turned down Kim Kardashian's bid to keep details of a $6 million settlement with Ray J behind closed doors. The deal relates to legal barbs exchanged by the two sides after Kardashian, in an episode of Keeping Up with the Kardashians, or excuse me, it's not called Keeping Up with the Kardashians anymore. It's now just called The Kardashians. Excuse me. That version of the family's reality show, like I mentioned earlier, came out in 2022. So the settlement deal relates to statements that Kim Kardashian apparently allegedly made in an episode of The Kardashians, one of the new episodes, accusing Ray J specifically of trying to extort her with a second tape of the sort. Also, there were allegations that Ray J had done things to Kim Kardashian while she was asleep. Ray J threatened to sue Kim Kardashian, which resulted in this settlement. So last year, Kim Kardashian and Ray J, now we're back to this article was posted last month. So last year, 2025, Kim Kardashian and Ray J reignited their legal battle when Ray J suggested on a live stream video that his one-time, partner and her mom were involved in an illegal criminal enterprise and were going to be charged by the government. Kim Kardashian sued for defamation, accusing Ray J of trying to exploit her fame. And again, y'all, I said it earlier, but Kim Kardashian's fame is entirely based on the foundation of this S-tape. Just don't forget that. The lawsuit points to a moment in the TMZ documentary on Sean P. Diddy Puff Daddy Combs when Ray J is heard saying, quote, "If you told me the Kardashians were being charged for racketeering, I might believe it." But he wasn't believing that Diddy should have been charged with racketeering, which definitely had a bunch of us up in arms. He later said in a video widely shared on the internet that the feds are coming and there's nothing he can do about it, and it's worse than Diddy. The Kardashians' lawsuit resulted in a cross complaint from Ray J, which we are going to read later in this live show. Ray J said that Kim had violated terms of the 2023 settlement agreement, which actually barred both sides from discussing the tape. Okay, so they both entered into a mutual agreement that neither one of them was going to talk about this tape publicly anymore. They both agreed to it. And then Ray J's like, as soon as we signed that agreement, boom, here they are talking about it on their show. So they violated the agreement. Kim Kardashian promptly moved to seal court documents filed by Ray J, arguing they were highly confidential. In the March 30th ruling, so this was just recently, a couple months ago, we're in May right now, so not even 2 full months ago, the judge in LA, Judge Stephen Ellis, found that the right of public access to these matters is more important than Kim Kardashian's perceived privacy. He concluded that Kim has presented no admissible evidence that disclosure of the settlement agreement and its terms would cause any harm. So Kim tried, and just to let y'all know, the lawyer on this case, or one of the lawyers on this case, is none other than Alex Spiro. Okay, Alex Spiro, that's Jay-Z and Rock Nation's lawyer, Alex Spiro. He also, I believe, represented Meg Thee Stallion in the Tory Lanez case. Alex Spiro, Quinn Emanuel is, has entered the chat on the Kardashian case. Thank you so much to You'll Clap When I'm Gone for being a member for 1 month, and also for gifting 1 live show membership. Thank you so much to Sleuthy Kitty for being a member for 1 month. Happy Monday indeed. Thank you. Yeah, I'm gonna find a chewy, gonna crack the cake. So that's Alex Spiro is at least one of the lawyers representing the Kardashians here in this case. But the court found in March, a couple months ago, less than 2 months ago, that Kim Kardashian and Quinn Emanuel and all them highfalutin lawyers, they couldn't actually make a good case for why this settlement agreement should be kept secret from the public. The two sides, that's Ray J and Kim Kardashian, have a long history. It says they dated in the 90s, but I don't think that's true. I think they dated in the early 2000s, with the couple leaking a supposed S tape. Now, I'm going to say this is just the Hollywood Reporter's characterization of things. Kim Kardashian and all of them have kind of denied that they ever supposedly leaked this tape. I'm just reading this article. If you want to sue somebody, Alex Spiro, please go sue the people that are saying it. I'm not saying this is a fact. Anyway, moving on. They dated and they had this tape. The tape came out, whatever, leak or was released, whatever the case may be. And in a court declaration, Ray J said he fell out. Oh, this part is scandalous. He supposedly fell out with the entire Kardashian family after after Kim Kardashian's family incurred $850,000 in charges to his credit cards. Now, this was always kind of painted as if it was charges to Brandy Norwood's credit cards, which is Ray J's sister. But now it's being reported that it was Ray J's credit cards, and it was $825,000 that the Kardashians racked up in charges on the Norwood family's credit cards. We'll just put it that way for now. Now, I could probably make like a whole entire video on that. I mean, actually I have before, but that video has since been taken down, and I may make another one. The thing is, like, I'm not that motivated to make a video about it necessarily, about the whole thing with having to do with the credit cards and the Brandy credit card, and Kim Kardashian was Brandy's closet organizer, because so many people have now covered it. I don't really have anything particularly necessarily new to add, but maybe I will one day. We'll see. But we're finally actually getting told the exact amount. And it's like over $250,000. This is a lot of money. Okay. So Kim Kardashian tried, and her mom, Kris Jenner, tried to have this settlement agreement kept secret. But as the title of this article says, she was unable to do so. So the settlement agreement comes out, and TMZ is the one who releases it. Now, I tried to see if I could find this not redacted. I think it must exist somewhere not redacted. But I had already spent like over $100 this morning on court documents that we're going to go through today. And I just really wasn't trying to keep spending money to just like take stabs in the dark over where this settlement agreement was. 333 in the chat. Shout out to 333. But this is the one that TMZ did make publicly available. This is the supposed confidential settlement agreement and mutual general release. Okay, so not only a settlement agreement, but a mutual general release. Release from what, you might be wondering? Good question. Liability. So this settlement agreement, presumably, it looks like to me, was supposed to cover any future litigation arising from the settlement agreement. It is a few pages long, so let's just read the parts that are not redacted. This confidential settlement agreement and mutual general release is made and entered into by and among Ray J and his mom on the one hand, and Kim Kardashian and her mom and their company, Kardashian Jenner Productions, collectively. So on the one side of the deal, you have Ray J and his mom. And on the other side of the deal, so he has a momager too. And on the other side of the deal, we have Kim Kardashian and her momager, as well as a company. And this is not a court document. I mean, it is now, because I think it's been filed in many courts, or at least this one. But this was supposed to just be confidential between Kardashian parties and the Ray J parties. They were supposed to just be like, okay, we're going to settle this outside of court. Claimants and respondents are each referred to in this agreement as a party, and collectively they are the parties. This agreement is entered into as of this date. Okay, redacted, all the way through to section E, or subsection E, at the mediation. So there was some type of mediation, because anytime you see the word the, that means that whatever the is, the noun or the verb or the whatever it is, in this case, the mediation, has already been mentioned before. If it were mentioned for the first time here, It would be a mediation. At a mediation hearing, blah, 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 blah. But because it says the, I can only assume that somewhere in this A through D situation is a mediation being referenced, and the parties probably went to mediation. And mediation is where you kind of like, it's similar to arbitration. You basically have like a little miniature trial or a miniature dispute resolution with a usually retired judge instead of going to real court. I would never do that. I never ever want to be forced into arbitration or mediation. If I have to be in court, I want it to be public and I want everybody to know. Okay. I reserve the right to change my mind. I'm sure there could be an exception to that, but that's just my opinion right now. Whereas at the mediation, the parties entered into and signed a confidential mediation term sheet memorializing the material terms of their settlement. So that was the term sheet where both of them agreed, both sides agreed, we're going to do certain things, we're not going to do certain things, we're going to be allowed to say certain things, we're not going to be allowed to say certain things, etc., etc. Neither an arbitrator nor any court has ruled on the merits of the claims, and we understand and stipulate that the execution of this agreement does not constitute an admission of liability by any party. It just constitutes the settlement of all past, current, or future disputes or claims or defenses, including without limitation all claims and defenses arising out of or concerning the subject matter of the S tape and all allegations that could have been made in the claims or counterclaims. So they're basically saying nobody is admitting they're guilty or liable. Nobody's admitting that they did anything against the law. Nobody's admitting any wrongdoing at all whatsoever. We're just saying we don't want to be dealing with this in court. We're ready to arbitrate or mediate this issue amongst and between the parties. Now, this is going to become interesting because there's kind of like two universes of issues here. One universe of issues has to do with the S tape. Okay. But the other universe of issues doesn't, and that's kind of like a private contract at this point. At this point, even though it is an issue of public concern, it's also a private, mediated dispute. Well, the second universe of issues has to do with the so-called defamation. It has nothing to do with the tape. It's Ray J saying that there's a federal RICO. A criminal investigation going on into the Kardashian Jenners, and that has nothing to do with an S tape. He's just saying they're gonna get got by the feds. That's a different situation. Okay, that's something to keep in mind. Okay. The parties have agreed to enter into this agreement addressing all past, current, or future claims, disputes, causes of action, defenses, alleged losses, including without limitation all claims and defenses arising out of or concerning the subject matter of the S tape, the claims and counterclaims, and the parties wish to fully and finally forever resolve any and all claims, disputes, causes of action, and alleged losses among them. And this agreement is a final, complete memorialization of the parties' settlement. In consideration of the mutual covenants, promises, we acknowledge the following. The terms of the settlement set forth in the agreement. The parties intend this agreement to be the final and complete statement of the settlement as to the effective date. In the event of any inconsistency, they wanted this term sheet to prevail and to control. The recitals set forth above are incorporated into this agreement and made a part hereof. So redacted. They released each other from any legal liability. They released their heirs, their covenants, their assigns, their representatives. Creditor releases, representations, and warranties. Okay, so I think this is no admission of wrongdoing. Neither side actually admits they did anything wrong. They're supposed to keep this agreement under strict confidentiality. Consequential indirect special damages. Bunch of stuff's redacted. Okay, so Sing Sing and Traubin. Okay, I guess they represent the Norwood parties. And then we have Cooley. I interviewed with them back in law school. Severability, the provision of portion and counter. Okay. So this is, Kris Jenner, Kim Kardashian. Sonia Norwood doesn't appear to have signed this. Interesting to say the least. Okay, so that is just kind of a brief overview. Obviously, I didn't read every word of that. It's very long and we have a lot of stuff to get into, but that is the confidentiality and release agreement that the two sides of the parties had entered into. So, before we get into the documents, there is one more section of kind of like publicly available reporting that I wanted to get into. And this is Ray J's recent statements, or more recent, in the past 6 months or so, on this situation. And this will be more discussed later as well on the BJ Investigates. We're going to get into the Cam Newton comments from the more recent interview and all of that. But this is an interesting theory I kind of wanted to put on y'all's radar, I'll say. Not that we really care who is Neon, who is Alabama Barker, but this is just falling under the recent statements, recent goings on in this universe. This was an article from TMZ on May 13th, so about 5 days ago, it was last week. There's a streamer, very famous streamer named Neon, and it's spelled instead of with E, it's spelled with a number 3, Neon. And he did a stream recently where Ray J appeared on the stream. And Ray J called Neon everything but a child of God. Basically, he crashed out on Neon. He was mad. Ray J was mad at this streamer. And the reason why is because apparently Ray J says that Neon had ghosted him. And the reason was because he had befriended the Kardashians. Ray J ain't happy with Neon because he is allegedly becoming buddy-buddy with the Kardashians after Ray J claims Neon ghosted him for months. Ray J appeared on a stream with Neon Tuesday, so like about a week ago. And you can see Ray J didn't hold, why'd they write this like this? Ray J didn't hold nothing back when blasting Neon for allegedly going silent on him while choosing to befriend the Kardashians. Neon seemed confused, agreeing that he hadn't spoken to Ray J for months, but he denied that he was pals with the Kardashians. Ray J's ex, Kim, and her family. Okay, so Ray J points out Neon was close with Alabama Barker. Now, who is Alabama Barker? Just for the uninitiated here, Alabama Barker is pretty much Kourtney Kardashian's stepdaughter. So Kourtney Kardashian has married Travis Barker, a very famous drummer, and Travis Barker has a daughter named Alabama. She's, I don't know, I guess she must be early 20s or something at this point. But Alabama has been going also on this famous streamer's streams, and they're, racking up a bunch of views, and she's a social media kind of like influencer in her own right at this point. Well, it doesn't take a lot of reverse engineering to wonder if Kris Jenner is also the momager of her step-grandchild. I mean, this is basically her granddaughter, Alabama Barker. And so Ray J has put those pieces together himself. Again, I don't know these people. I don't know what's going on with them. But I kind of also thought that probably Alabama Barker was being somehow put on by the Kardashians and put on to these Neon streams and stuff by the Kardashians. As you know, Alabama is the daughter of Travis Barker, who is married to Kourtney Kardashian. That's Kim's sister. So Kim would be like her aunt. She is family with the Kardashians, but certainly isn't in their core lineup of sisters that we know about. This connection is enough to make Ray J irritated regardless. I can see where he's coming from for sure. And I don't take Ray J's side on everything. I think some of the stuff he does is a little out of control, but I could see why he would have that thought in this particular case. It's unclear where Ray J and Neon stand at this point, though Ray J did seem to turn his mood toward the end of the clip. Ray J and Kim Kardashian were a couple. In the early 2000s, they split up, and then their tape supposedly, quote, leaked or was released. They're currently in the middle of a bitter legal battle. Kim and Kris sued Ray J in October 2025 for defamation after he suggested that they were the subjects of a federal racketeering investigation in the TMZ documentary about Diddy. If you told me Kardashians were the center Oh, sorry, we're being charged for racketeering. I might believe that. Ray J filed a cross complaint. Okay, so that's what we're going to talk about also today in these legal filings is Kim and Kris sue Ray J, right, in October, but then he sued them back. So there was like a two-way lawsuit going on. Again, we will talk more about it as we get into the actual filings. This is just the background. Okay, the Kardashians in which he accused. Okay, clearly there's a lot to unload here or unpack here, and Ray J seems to think no friend of the Kardashians is a friend of his. Okay, so we're in this section of like recent statements about the situation. Now, here's another recent statement about the situation where Ray J, 4 or 5 days ago, it's starting to come to light that Ray J is claiming to be scared for his life. He thinks the Kardashians and Alex Spiro and them are going to do something to him, I guess. He alleges a threat to life amid legal battle with Kardashians. American singer and actor Ray J raised concerns over his personal safety. Sorry, I had to get rid of that foot. Over his personal safety as his legal dispute with media personalities Kris Jenner and Kim Kardashian moves to arbitration. Well, one part of it moved to arbitration, but some of it does seem to be alive and well. And I don't want to bury the lead here. I mean, I am 30 minutes in, but like TLDR, this whole thing could still get thrown completely out of court, okay? Because on the one hand, Kris and Kim sued Ray J, okay? On the other hand, Ray J sued them back. Oh, sorry. Ray J sued them back. So there was like a cross, you know, like a suing each other thing. Well, the Ray J suing them back one got taken away. And that one has to go to arbitration. We're going to discuss why. If it seems confusing, I understand. We haven't even looked at the legal documents yet, so hopefully it starts to make sense as we get through this. And some of this stuff just really does take like a long live stream. It really just takes a long live stream, live show. That's what we're going to be doing today. But again, on the one hand, Kim and Kris sue Ray J. On the other hand, Ray J sues them back. Well, the claims that Kris and Kim had are defamation. They don't really have that much to do with the S tape. But Ray J sued back over the S tape, like a contract dispute. The court dismissed, or not, excuse me, did not dismiss, but stayed the claims. And the court said it looks kind of like the contract dispute aspect of this needs to be going to arbitration. In the meantime, what that left standing was Kris Jenner and Kim Kardashian's lawsuit against Ray J. That lawsuit itself, yes, Ray J did counterclaim, but what else he also did was filed an anti-slap motion. And the judge has not decided yet on that anti-slap motion. The judge actually had a hearing or two on the issue. And he said, or she, I think it's a he, I need to hear more. Yeah, Judge Ellis, I need to hear more about what's going on with the anti-slap. I need a few more filings. I need a few more answered questions. And the most recent deadline for the briefings on that was May 13th. So like 5 days ago. So this whole lawsuit could just fall out of the public sphere and fall out of the public ether. We don't know yet if it's even going to end up going to trial. Again, if that was confusing to you, we'll get more into it. And hopefully by the end of the live show, you're kind of like, okay, I see what you're saying. But anyway, so he spoke during an interview on the Jason Lee show a few days ago, last week, and Ray J alleged that he remains on alert regarding potential retaliatory claims from the Kardashian-Jenner family. When questioned about the severity of those concerns, Ray J suggested he would not rule out extreme measures being taken against him, which means what? I mean, I guess we're supposed to be using our imagination. I mean, I don't really know. The allegations come amid a complex legal battle between the parties. Kim and Kris initially sued Ray J for saying they were being criminally investigated by the feds. In response, Ray J filed a countersuit alleging breach of settlement agreement related to this tape. The judge recently ruled that while defamation and the defamation case from the Kardashian-Jenners can continue, Ray J's countersuit has to first go to arbitration or the mediator or whatever before the judge will hear it. But the judge did not outright dismiss the lawsuit. Sources close to the Kardashian family. Who is that girl? I'm always raising a little bit of a suspicious side eye over who is the sources close. I got about an hour and a half long video on Britney Spears coming soon on BJ Investigates. Not today, probably not even maybe this week, but about these sources close and how you can't really trust. Who is the sources close? We definitely need to consider their conflicts of interest for one. But anyway, sources close to the Kardashian family say that they have dismissed his claims, like the family, like they're saying no, Ray J's claims are baseless and there's no intention to engage with those allegations. I'm assuming the sources close are probably somebody like an Alex Spiro type, but who really knows? Okay. No, the only Angie, it has nothing to do with being broke at all whatsoever. So no, the answer to your question is no. This is completely irrelevant to what the judge is going to be deciding. All right. And so I have one last article that I want to pull up relating to like recent statements. And this is a little less recent. This is from about a little less than a month ago. It's a Rolling Stone article. Wait, are they going to let me read it? No, they're not. Okay. So the headline is Kim Kardashian gets trial date for defamation lawsuit, but Ray J's claims were sent to arbitration. It's a bit misleading, and that's another reason, there are many reasons I wanted to do this live stream, but one of the reasons I wanted to do this live stream is because on this particular case and investigating the legal documents, again, y'all, I spent over $100 of my own money this morning on court documents, but it's kind of confusing and a little bit misleading how this is being put in the media. Like, it makes it seem like Kim Kardashian's claims are definitely going forward to trial, but that is not true. That's not necessarily the case. It could get all deleted. Dismissed on anti-SLAPP grounds. And if it does get dismissed on anti-SLAPP grounds, then that would mean Ray J would be entitled to attorney's fees and costs from Kim Kardashian's pocketbook. Okay. And Kris Jenner's and their company and all that. So those are the recent, things that I wanted to talk about in this case. And so let's get now, without further ado, into the actual legal filings in the case. We'll start with Kim and Kris's initial complaint against Ray J, and this was pretty much the first substantive document filed in the case. Now, I'm not going to be reading every document. I'm also not going to be reading every word of every document because I do have, 20 or so documents to get through today. But this is going to be the highlight of the highlight reel pretty much. So, excuse me. I'm going to pull up the document here. This is the complaint filed October 2025, last year. Okay. So, complaint for what? Defamation and false light publicity. Okay. Complaint for defamation and false light publicity. Who are the plaintiffs? Who is suing? Kim and Kris. Who is getting sued? Ray J. Note, they are not suing him for breach of contract. That is that settlement agreement, and that's probably why Kris and Kim tried to keep the settlement agreement out of court. But the judge said, no, we need to be able to let the public see the whole side of the whole story here. So it's not a very long complaint as far as complaints go. It is only 13 pages total, but it says plaintiffs Kim Kardashian and Kris Jenner bring this complaint against Ray J for defamation and false light publicity. For more than 2 decades, Ray J, also known as or William Ray Norwood Jr., that's his name, but I'm going to call him Ray J because that's what people know him as. And this is all coming from the perspective and the side of Kris and Kim Kardashian as far as this particular document we are reading. We will also read Ray J's response and everything like that. So this, just to, don't shoot the messenger. Okay, y'all, this is just me reading the perspective of the Jenner Kardashians. Okay, so according to them, Ray J, for more than 2 decades, has engaged in a sustained campaign of harassment and defamation against Kris Jenner and Kim Kardashian. Unable to accept the end of his fleeting relationship with Kim Kardashian over 20 years ago, Ray J has repeatedly sought to attach himself to Kris and Kim's names and exploit their prominence for personal gain. Kris and Kim go on and say this action arises from Ray J's latest and most malicious defamatory conduct. And what would that be? Declaring to millions of social media viewers that plaintiffs, that's Kim and Kris, are subjects of a federal criminal racketeering investigation. Ray J's defamatory campaign began on May 30th, 2025. Now, May 30th, again, 2025 is right around the time that the Sean P. Diddy Puff Daddy Combs trial was really at its height, okay? Things were just going on in that trial at that point. And at that time, Ray J appeared on the Fox and Tubi and TMZ special, United States versus Sean P. Diddy Puff Daddy Combs, and stated that racketeering charges against the Kardashians would be appropriate. If you told me that the Kardashians were being charged for racketeering, I might believe it, Ray J said. So that was May 30th, 2025. Again, we are reading right now Kris and Kim's version of events. They say a few months later, the month or a couple weeks before Diddy was sentenced, Ray J, quote, escalated his attacks during a social media live stream broadcast to millions, declaring the federal RICO I'm about to drop on Kris and Kim is about to be crazy. The feds is coming, Ray J said. He then announced to the millions of viewers that the RICO case against them would be worse than Diddy, referring to the highly publicized federal RICO charges against Diddy for heinous allegations of trafficking and violent abuse of women. Now, I think it's important, y'all might not think it's important, but I personally think it's important that Diddy had already been found not guilty of RICO at this time, okay? So by the time September 25th rolled around and Ray J's saying, oh, it's going to be worse than Diddy, I'm going to drop a federal RICO on them. Diddy had been found not guilty. So worse than Diddy, I mean, that's not that bad. Now, if he had been found guilty and Ray J said the thing I'm about to say about the Kardashians is worse than Diddy, I mean, that might have been different in my opinion. But the complaint goes on. Again, we are reading through the Kim Kardashian versus Ray J lawsuit that was originally filed in October last year. This is the first substantive document that we are going to read. And I do have about, 20 or so, maybe more documents that we need to get through today. Ray J provided no evidence whatsoever for these explosive claims or accusations. His public statements are blatantly false, according to Kim Kardashian. No such federal investigation exists. Here's the thing. How the F would they know? The feds don't have to tell you if you're under investigation. So there might be or there might not be, but how would they even know? That's what I want to know. No credible evidence supports these inflammatory allegations. Ray J's statements were not careless exaggerations, but calculated falsehoods. And they have to prove this. Kim and her mama are going to have to prove Ray J actually knew or had reason to know that what he was saying wasn't true. Part of this effort, so they were falsehoods that were calculated to be a part of this decades-long effort to trade on the Kardashian-Jenners' reputations, undermine their businesses, and inflict emotional and reputational harm upon them. Now, interestingly, this filing was filed in part by none other than Quinn Emanuel. Ray J's conduct, according to the Kardashians in this complaint, represents an egregious abuse of social media. Now, this is basically like Quinn Emanuel pretty much seems to be trying to build their whole entire law firm's reputation on abuse of social media, if you ask me, but I digress. Ray J's conduct represents an egregious abuse of social media and public platforms abuse of public platforms to weaponize lies about non-existent criminal investigations while fully aware that such allegations, even when baseless, carry the power to damage plaintiffs' livelihoods. Now, if I had unlimited money, I should have sued the shit out of Lima Yevremovich for saying exactly the same type of stuff about me. She said I was under criminal investigation by the cops in my hometown or my town where I live, and I FOIA requested whether I was under criminal investigation. No such record found. I FOIA requested whether I was under investigation in Los Angeles or whether any complaints had ever been filed against me. No such thing had been found. So I've been lied about in this exact same way. Not that the Kardashians need my freaking empathy. They get what they get, but I'm just saying people do be lying. And if I had unlimited money, I probably would have sued Lima for lying about me on this and other points. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Donate to the legal fund below if you so please. Okay, fully aware that such allegations, even when baseless, carry the power to damage their reputation. Okay, so the Kardashian Jenners go on. This is not Ray J's first time making false and inflammatory statements with wanton disregard for the truth. Now, again, they're using this terminology, wanton disregard for the truth, because they are public figures. They are going to have to prove that Ray J knew or had a very strong reason to know that what he said was false. So, Ray J, what exactly did he say? Again, what exactly are we here for? Not the S tape particularly, but because Ray J said that there was some type of RICO going on against the Kardashians, which I don't know how either side has any ability to know if it's true or not. Do you see what I'm saying? Anyway, over the years, according to the Kardashians, Ray J has repeatedly fabricated sensationalized claims and resulted to vulgar remarks about prominent women, apparently in hopes of staying relevant in the media. For example, he recently admitted to fabricating claims of an intimate relationship with Sexy Red, later conceding that he went out of control when making that false statement. These incidents exemplify Ray J's modus operandi, his MO. Manufacturing salacious and degrading stories about successful women in the entertainment industry, particularly Kim Kardashian, to generate the publicity he craves. Ray J's acknowledged animosity toward the Kardashian family. I mean, some of this sounds bad, but really don't matter. You can have animosity toward someone and talk about them, and it's not defamation. You can have animosity towards someone and say whatever you feel like. That doesn't mean that they're going to be able to sue you and win. His acknowledged animosity toward the Kardashian family, coupled with his demonstrated willingness to lie for attention, leaves no room for doubt that his recent RICO statements were neither careless or impulsive. They were just the latest salvo in a deliberate and malicious campaign of harassment and defamation intended to defame the Kardashian Jenners, while reviving his own fading notoriety. And I do think it is interesting that they're kind of putting it that way, because they also rely on the Ray J tape to revive their fading notoriety in the first episode of their show, where they basically relied on the tried and true storyline of this S tape. Oh my God, I mean, you got my cry face and Chicago found it on the Roblox. Wah. It's like, well, girl, I mean, if it's good for the goose, why can't it be good for the gander? I'm just curious. Okay, 1 second. I gotta. I'm sorry, I needed to take care of something real quick on a text message. All right. Ray J's May 30th, 2025 and September 24th, 2025 public statements related to a non-existent RICO investigation. Again, I don't know how they could know if they were under investigation or not. Like, the feds definitely don't have to tell you. Into plaintiffs. They have been widely disseminated through media outlets, causing substantial and ongoing harm to plaintiffs' personal and professional reputations. Media reports have repeated Ray J's false allegations with headlines stating that racketeering charges make more sense for the Kardashians than Diddy, and detailing that Ray J is railing against the racketeering conspiracy charge that Diddy is facing. He says a RICO charge against the Kardashians would be more believable. Now, this part, who cares? Like, some of this stuff, I feel like they might have had a case and then they just ruined it by saying stuff that has nothing to do with anything. As internationally recognized public figures and successful business women, Miss Kardashian and Kris Jenner have built their reputations on sex tapes. That's not what it says. Oh, that's weird. They put something in here that I don't think is true. But hey, look, let's just read it because it is their lawsuit. They claim they have built their reputations on integrity, business acumen, and professional excellence. Okay. Ray J's obviously false allegations of a federal criminal investigation for racketeering, among the most serious categories of criminal conduct, strike directly at the heart of their character, their integrity, and standing in the public eye. This causes harm to their personal and professional reputations. The Kardashians and Jenners claim that they're bringing this action to hold Ray J accountable for his calculated campaign of lies and harassment to put an end to this years-long pattern of exploiting their names for notoriety. Again, I want to remind y'all, when this all started, Ray J and his sister were way more famous than any Kardashian. Ray J was like a bona fide real music actual star. And not the most famous of all, certainly not on the Diddy level or anything like that. I'm not delusional, but the Kardashians were like people's assistants and they had a little boutique. Yeah, they weren't that famous. So really, no one has done a better job or a more complete job, in my opinion, based on the public record, of exploiting more famous than them's people's names, likeness, and possibly money to clout, chase, grift, and social climb than the Kardashians. I think they're the best at it that I've ever seen. First Ray J, then the slew of athletes that they've used. Kris, whatever his name was, that Kim was married to for 72 hours. Khloe Kardashian with Lamar Odom. What's her name? Courtney. Starts out with Scott Disick, who was a pretty famous club promoter and very, very rich, and then moved on to Travis Barker, who's very famous in his own right and his scene. So these people know how to latch on and social climb. And even the people in their orbit started to do it. Hailey Bieber, who was hanging out with the Jenner, Kylie, and what's the other one's name? Kendall Jenner. She ended up latched on to Justin Bieber. Megan Fox hung out with him a lot. She seemed to be close to him. She latched on as a succubus, in my opinion, to Machine Gun Kelly, and then they end up having babies with him. Kylie Jenner did this with Tyga, who, listen, that was nasty because he was an adult and she was a minor, but still, that did happen, and I'm pretty sure it was because momager Kris Jenner arranged it, but that's just my opinion. I don't know that to be a fact. That's just, they definitely didn't tell me that to be a fact, but nobody really out here has done a better job of social climbing than the Kardashian Jenner clan, in my opinion, on the whole. So it's interesting that they're complaining that Ray J is now doing that to them because, what's good for the goose got to be good for the gander. Nobody listens to me, though. Nobody listens to me. So they're saying that the reason that they're suing him is because they want him held accountable for his calculated campaign of lies, harassment, and his years-long pattern of exploiting their names for notoriety. They wouldn't have their names if it wasn't for Ray J. I am going to say that. That's my opinion. They also want to seek redress for the harm that his malicious conduct has caused to their reputations. They're going to have to prove this harm happened. Then they go through the parties, the jurisdiction, venue. Okay, here is the statement of facts section. Statement of facts. Plaintiff Kimberly Kardashian is a highly successful businesswoman. Media, and it's interesting to me they don't call her a porn star, because that's kind of like what she started out. And Paris Hilton, yep, and Britney Spears, and Lindsay Lohan, exactly. All those people, they are social climbers for sure. In my opinion. In my opinion. Speaking of businesswoman, I'll take care of some business and answer some texts here and there. Okay, so this is the statement of facts as according to Kim Kardashian and her mama. Kim is a highly successful businesswoman, media personality, I'm going to say corn star, and advocate for criminal justice reform. She and a failed bar examinee. She can literally not pass the freaking bar exam. Maybe she should give like going to actual law school a try, but then she would have to get in first. And I heard that it's harder to just pay for your way in now since the Varsity Blues scandal. Anyway, the complaint goes on. It says Ms. Kardashian has built a business empire, most recently centered around her shapewear and loungewear brand, Skims. She co-founded this brand in 2019. With who? That brand has been successful and is worth now $4 billion as of 2023. Beyond her business achievements, she has pursued legal education. I mean, that is very, very loose use of words here, all right? Because she has not gone to law school, but she claims to have pursued legal education, not that her bar exam results would have anything to show for it. And I feel like I'm particularly and uniquely qualified to criticize this behavior because I actually did have to suffer through the entirety of a legal education and I had to spend money and I had to study for the bar exam for a very long, like hours and hours and hours a day, every day. I couldn't pass go, not collect $200. I had to sit for the bar exam in a pandemic. They forced us to take it. And passed on my first try. And arguably, New York, that's the one I took, is one of the most difficult bar exams to take, period. Actually, I think I took New Jersey's, but it was reciprocal with New York. So I was admitted to practice law in New York. Was it New York or New Jersey? I actually don't remember. So don't quote me on this. Somebody going to be tweeting saying I lied about something. It's all a blur. It was during a pandemic and it was stressful. But what I can tell you for sure, it was very hard to pass the bar exam. It was very hard to study for it. And I passed it on the first try. So, in May 2025, she graduated from California's Law Office Study Program. You can't graduate from a study program. Like, this is another thing, too. It's, like, very difficult. I'm not trying to say that going to law school makes me better than somebody, but I studied for the entrance test to law school for, like, 2 years. The LSAT, I studied for, like, 2 years. And it kind of like cheapens that effort when anybody can say they graduated from anything at any time. I'm not a big fan of all these like honorary degrees and all this saying you graduated from something when really it was a weekend certificate program. I don't like it. And it makes me feel like, why did I have to study that hard and do all that? I'm not out here trying to act like I downplay my legal education, as y'all know. I don't go around here, oh, I'm a lawyer all the time. Like, I'm just a girl on the internet. But it's just aggravating to see, like, the likes of, like, Alex Spiro and the rest at Quinn Emanuel, that's a very, very successful and very high-achieving law firm, like, basically LARPing for their client and acting like she's some kind of lawyer when she can't even pass the freaking bar exam. It's very aggravating to me as somebody that actually had to pass the bar exam in tremendous, unfathomable circumstances. But anyway, she claims that she rigorously studied 6 years of rigorous legal study. And I wouldn't even be out here admitting that, because if you can't pass the bar after 6 years of rigorous study, you might need a freaking brain scan. She might need to venture on down there back to Dr. Amen's clinic and see if he can get some brain rescue supplements down her throat or something. Anyway, she successfully lobbied for criminal justice reform, blah, blah, blah. Okay, she leveraged her platform and resources, again, all built on the foundation of a sex tape, let's not forget. To advocate for meaningful change in the criminal justice system, she worked with legal professionals, blah, 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 blah. Her efforts to highlight inequities, blah, 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 disadvantage, blah, blah, blah. Okay, Kris Jenner is a visionary entrepreneur, momager, a business strategist, media executive. Okay, this is very important. Kris Jenner is a media executive. Built one of the most successful family business empires in entertainment history. Can't argue with that. Devil works hard, but Kris Jenner works harder. CEO of her production company, Jenner Communications. Manager of all her children's careers, momager, at momager.com. Thanks, Lou Taylor. She's all up in those documents, or used to be last I checked. Kris Jenner, and this is all coming from their side. Remember, what are we reading? The complaint. We're reading the complaint that Kris and Kim filed. This is them talking about their own selves. Kris has orchestrated the transformation of her family from reality television personalities into multi-billion-dollar business conglomerate. Her strategic business acumen has been instrumental in launching and guiding successful ventures, including Kylie Cosmetics, Skims, Good America, 818 Tequila, and numerous other brands that collectively represent over $5 billion in value. Kris Jenner has demonstrated exceptional leadership and foresight in navigating the rapidly evolving media landscape. Whew, I wish they would elaborate on that. She was the driving force behind the show Keeping Up with the Kardashians, which ran for 20 seasons and became a cultural phenomenon. Okay, look, it's almost like she's kind of admitting what Ray J is going to come around later and say in some later documents here. Yep. Kris Jenner was the driving force behind this 20-season-long reality show. And what did we already discuss here? The reality show was launched on the back of the sex tape. Literally, no pun intended, okay? Kim Kardashian's backside has carried this family since day one. Since basically the daddy died, Robert Kardashian died. They say it in their own words. Kris was the driving force behind the show. It was a cultural phenomenon. The first episode, the pilot episode of the show, was all centered around the sex tape. As an executive producer for most of her family's reality programs and creator of multiple spin-off series, Kris Jenner has proven her ability to create compelling content that resonates with global audiences while building a sustainable business enterprise. She's also a published author, a television personality in her own right, a business mentor, and has shared her expertise and inspired countless entrepreneurs. She's authored multiple books and has hosted her own television programs. Industry experts have praised her as a preeminent female pop cultural brand leader, the matriarch of the Kardashian-Jenner brood, and recognized her ability to monetize personal branding while maintaining authenticity and business integrity. And then they get into who is Ray J, a performer, singer, songwriter, decades-long pattern of making false. So you can see here how you can juxtapose or look at the juxtaposition of how they present themselves and how they describe and present Ray J. He is a singer-songwriter who has a decades-long pattern of making false and inflammatory statements to generate media attention and remain relevant in the public spotlight. His musical career peaked, they are shady, with singles like One Wish and Sexy Can I, but his celebrity status has largely been sustained through reality television appearances, which, again, so the same can be said and was said in this lawsuit by the Kardashians of the Kardashians. Their celebrity status has pretty much been substantiated and sustained because they are pretty much, breeding with very famous, mostly black men. I mean, let's call it what it is. Other people more famous than them is how they had their come up, and that is how they remain famous, is on and through reality television appearances. That's what it looks like to me, in my opinion. Controversial public statements, same thing. It's like nobody wants to work these days. And repeated attempts to insert himself into high-profile controversies. Ray J's connection to Kim dates back over 2 decades to a brief relationship they shared in the early 2000s. Ray J has continuously exploited his past association to generate publicity and, quote, harass Kim Kardashian long after their relationship ended. Despite the passage of more than 20 years since their relationship, Ray J has persistently sought to inject himself into her life and maintain relevance by making defamatory statements about her and her family. Again, y'all, this is all from the perspective of the Kardashians, and they're making these allegations in court against Ray J. Ray J has demonstrated a consistent and well-documented pattern of making false sensationalized claims about high-profile individuals to generate media attention. They bring up this sexy red incident again. She confronted him, calling him weird, accusing him of lying, and then Ray J promptly retracted his statements and issued a public apology, admitting that he was out of control. He described his behavior as trolling at the highest level that was childish, uncalled for, insensitive. Ray J's defamatory statements about Kim Kardashian are part of a broader campaign of harassment designed to generate publicity for his flailing career and to satisfy his acknowledged animosity toward the Kardashian family. His false allegations of criminal investigations represent an escalation of years of antagonistic behavior, including his 2013 release of a song called I Hit It First. Oh, well, put a 2 in the chat if you remember that song. That was widely understood as a disparaging reference to Kim Kardashian, his repeated social media attacks on the family, his attempts to insert himself into various controversies involving them. Okay. So then they get into like, what exactly are they actually mad about? What are the statements? What are they actually suing for? They say, paragraph 24, this is page 8 out of 13, Ray J's false and defamatory campaign against plaintiffs began in earnest during a May 2025 interview with TMZ, where he made his first public statements suggesting that Kim Kardashian and Kris Jenner were appropriate subjects for federal criminal racketeering charges. During this interview with TMZ, which was conducted as part of their coverage of Sean P. Diddy Combs' RICO charges alleging heinous acts of ST, violent abuse of women, Ray J in that interview deliberately drew a false parallel. Now, we could probably get into the weeds of like whether or not that's actually what he actually did. But again, this is just what the Kardashian Jenners are saying. This is their version of events. So let's see what they're trying to say. Deliberately drew a false parallel by stating, quote, if you told me the Kardashians was being charged for racketeering, I might believe it. According to this complaint, this statement was designed to plant the seed in the public mind that Kim Kardashian and Kris Jenner were somehow comparable to an individual who was facing serious federal criminal charges, despite having no factual basis for this comparison. To date, Ray J has not retracted his knowingly false and disparaging statement. Okay. Let's just pause right here real quick. I'm going a little bit fast because I'm really trying to get more into like the arguments going between both sides, but this is pretty much the most important statement of the entire lawsuit. This is one of the 2 statements they're suing for. One was made in March 2025 and one was made in September 2025. So what is defamation? What is a defamatory statement? In order for especially a public figure to win on defamation, what do they have to prove? That there was a statement, not a question, not a pontification, not a psychic vision necessarily, although, you know, the line gets blurred on that one. A statement of fact. A statement of fact as if it is a fact. A statement has to be false. So facts ain't defamation, right? A statement of fact intentionally uttered to a third party, stated as if it was true. It has to bring harm to the individual, and whenever it involves a public figure, the person about which the statements are, or matter of public concern, then there also has to be this proof of actual malice. In other words, the person who said the false statement basically has to know for sure or have very strong reason to know what they're saying is false. So with that in mind, let's look at the first statement here. This is statement number 1 of 2. Quote, if you told me, this is from Ray J, that the Kardashians was being charged for racketeering, I might believe it. Is that a statement of fact that he knows for sure is false? I don't see how it could possibly be. This seems like a completely protected statement to me. Whether you like Ray J, hate Ray J, I don't have really that strong of opinion on him one way or the other way. I'm not like, oh yeah, team Ray J. But thoughts and opinions and suspicions and certainly beliefs are not defamatory and can never be. You have to say something as if it is a fact. So, for example, if Ray J had come out and said, I know for a fact, let's just say, if Ray J came out and said, I know for a fact there is a RICO investigation going on into these Jenner Kardashians. I know it for a fact. I have insider knowledge and I'm letting y'all know. Well, if that wasn't true, that might be grounds for a defamation claim. However, I believe the Kardashians should be investigated for RICO. That's a statement of belief. And what we have here as the actual quoted statement appears to be something closer to that second one. Put a 3 in the chat if you disagree. Put a 3 in the chat if you agree with me. Ruby, I too am tired of the abuse of the justice system by these so-called celebrities and also government ops and also immigrants from Canada or was it Serbia or girl at this point, who knows. I'm tired of it too. Lima. Brian. I'm tired of the abuse of the legal system as well, girl. Don't worry. I've borne the full brunt of it myself over the past several years. Thank you so much to James Steele for the £2 super chat. Can I just say your mama is beautiful? Thank you. She's in the chat. You should let her know. He said it might. This is not stating a fact. I don't get it. I really don't get how this could possibly even be something you could sue for defamation over. Again, quote, what Ray J said, quote, if you told me that the Kardashians was being charged for racketeering, if you told me that they were, I'm correcting the grammar here, but if you told me they were, if you did, that's not a statement of fact about them. If you told me they were being charged for racketeering, I might believe it. So not if you told me they were being charged for racketeering, I would say, yeah, because I know it for a fact that they are. I mean, there's many ways this statement could have been put out there that would have made it something that would be possible to even move forward on a defamation claim. But in this particular circumstance, I just don't see how this is even possibly a statement of fact, as if this looks more like a protected statement under the First Amendment. This looks like protected speech to me. Because I'm going to say it right now, and I hope nobody sues me for defamation, but if someone told me that the Kardashians were being sued for racketeering, I also might believe it. Put a 4 in the chat if you also might believe it. I'm not saying I would for sure. I'm not saying I definitely would. But like, what do you mean? You're suing me for something I might believe in a hypothetical future event? That's crazy. That's insane. And again, I just want to remind y'all, this whole lawsuit might be getting dismissed on anti-SLAPP grounds. The judge still hasn't made his decision on it, on whether this part of the lawsuit is going to be dismissed, because as you will see as we make our way through the documents of this case, Ray J has said, this is free speech. I didn't say this as if it was a fact. This isn't something you could sue for defamation over. I need my lawyer's fees back because they're just trying to silence my First Amendment rights. Goldie said, it's weird this is the quote they would sue for. I remember way worse things I said. Well, they might come sue you too. Anyway, they say, if you told me that the Kardashians were or was being sued for racketeering, I might believe it. This statement, according to Kardashians, was designed to plant the seed in the public mind that Miss Kardashian and Miss Jenner were somehow comparable to an individual facing serious federal criminal charges. Despite having no factual basis for such comparison. I don't think this is grounds to be suing somebody for defamation. I really don't. And the weird thing about this is, too, y'all, the Kardashians have gone 20 freaking years without suing anybody for defamation. Like, they let anybody say anything, usually. So it was very weird to me that this is what they decided to sue for defamation the first time that you ever saw a defamation suit come from this family, at least in my memory. Ray J has not retracted this statement. His statement led to tabloid publications to have headlines like RICO charges totally bogus, Kardashians, yes. Diddy, no. Ray J's defamatory statements escalated dramatically. Okay, so the second round of statements we're about to get to, these are from September 24th, 2025, when he falsely claimed during a social media live stream to millions of viewers that federal authorities had initiated a criminal investigation. Okay, this one, I think, gets him a little bit closer to a real, actual defamation claim. The Kardashians. This is a little bit closer to a, like, actionable claim. That doesn't mean, oh yeah, open, close, they win. But just, you have to have a starting point of something that's even possible to be a defamation lawsuit, which it has to be a statement of fact. It can't be, I might believe something in some hypothetical future situation. Ray J made these second set of statements during a live stream with Chrisean Rock, a rapper and television personality who has over 7 million followers across social media platforms. During the live stream, Ray J made the following false and fabricated statements. Number 1, the federal RICO I'm about to drop on Kris and Kim is about to be crazy. The feds is coming. There's nothing I can do about it. Okay, that one looks more like a statement of fact. It's worse than Diddy. It's worse than Diddy, he said. I'm on the news every day and I'm going to say a lot of stuff. This right here, I don't think is a strong, if it comes, whatever. He said, I'm on the news every day. I'm going to say a lot of beep. Again, this is just a comment about some possible future hypothetical scenario. Anybody that is cool with Kim, they need to tell her now the rain is coming. The feds is coming. This right here does appear to be a little bit closer to what could be actionable as a defamation claim. But even still, they would have to prove, Kim Kardashian and Kris Jenner have to prove that when Ray J said the feds is coming, he actually for a fact or had very strong reason to know that wasn't true. He had to know that wasn't true. What if somebody called him up and said, hey, I'm with the feds, I'm investigating, and maybe they were lying? Ray J might have good reason to believe that there was a federal RICO coming. Could have. I don't know. Could be, could not be. I wasn't there. I don't know. These statements were presented as factual assertions about an ongoing federal criminal proceeding and not as speculation or opinion. Well, that's not true. The first one was completely speculation and opinion. If you told me that the Kardashians was being charged for racketeering, I might believe it. That's speculation and opinion. Open and shut textbook case. Now, Kardashian and Jenner say these defamatory statements are categorically false and constitute textbook defamation per se. Under California law, they falsely impute serious criminal conduct to plaintiffs and cause immediate and presumed reputational damages. Ray J's publications of these statements without any attempt at verification or corroboration constitutes reckless disregard for the truth. And this is what they claim is going to reach the standard of actual malice. I can tell you unequivocally that is not how it works. And I'm assuming Alex Spiro knows that. You do not have a duty to investigate before you form your opinion. Now, should you investigate before you form your opinion? Sure, I think it's best practices. But if you just form your opinion out of thin air and you don't say you relied on information that you have that other people have, like there is exceptions basically, but like if you just are out here saying, I don't feel like doing any further research, I could just look at his face and I can tell he's guilty. That's my opinion. He's guilty by looking at his face. What do I know? Like that's not defamation. And you don't have to go and read. Like for example, David, people are saying he's guilty. I saw him in the video with Celeste. I saw him say delete all the videos and I just know he's guilty. He's nasty. He's guilty. He did it. There's no duty for a person to go and purchase the court documents and go and fly and take a flight to the court and try to get the document. There's no duty for that. Now, would it be best practices? Probably. Would it be best practices, especially if you're like covering the story as a journalist? Yeah, you definitely probably need to follow the journalistic standards, but there's no duty to contact law enforcement before you say, if there's a RICO coming, I'd believe it against those Kardashians. You have a duty to do any research. Now, that might come as a surprise to y'all. Y'all might not like it, but that's just the law. It's just how it works. I don't know what to tell you. You got the First Amendment here. If you don't like it, you can go. You can leave. Bye. His reliance on his own unsubstantiated assertions, despite having no factual basis or credible source for these inflammatory allegations, demonstrates a fundamental disregard for truth and a willful intent to harm plaintiffs' reputations. I don't agree with the Kardashians here, but let's move forward. They're saying he fabricated these allegations. His false statements were quickly disseminated through various media outlets. Girl, I'm not even convinced they didn't circulate these themselves. They achieved their intended effect. It harmed them. Defamation is the first cause of action. Defamation it's per se. I don't know what this per quad is. They wanted to, Ray J wanted to injure their reputation. He conducted no investigation. Again, he had absolutely no duty to do that. He invented claims entirely from his own imagination. There's nothing against the rules about that. You can do that as long as you don't say, I had a psychic vision and now I'm telling you it's 100% fact. It's 100% fact because of my psychic vision. That now we're starting to talk about something else. But if you're like, look, I just got a feeling David's guilty. I just got a feeling Kardashians are under investigation by the feds. I just got a feeling. I don't have any claims. I don't have any, proof of that. And you've probably heard me say stuff like this often, right? Like, I just feel like so-and-so did it. I don't know why I feel that way. I just feel like that. That's not defamation. You're allowed to just feel things and you're allowed to just imagine them out of your own imagination. What you're not allowed to do, and I mean, you are allowed to do it, but you might lose a defamation case, is say it's a fact. You might have seen this recently. There was a YouTuber in the Brian Koberger case, and she was like a tarot card reader, and she was like, I know for a fact that Brian Koberger, either didn't do it or he did do it, and he was working with the teacher from the school, and this teacher from the school was a secret lesbian. And, she even, despite having cease and desists sent to her and proof sent to her, she just kept saying, I'm going to keep saying what I want to say because it's facts and it's truth. And I'm only trying to report the facts. And she wasn't hedging it by saying, I am a psychic tarot reader and I wasn't there. I don't actually fully know, but this is the intuition I'm getting. She lost that lawsuit because she didn't make those type of qualifications. So you can absolutely say things from your own imagination, but you just have to be very clear that's where it's coming from. You can't say, oh, it's a fact. I got it from a secret source, but the secret source was your imagination and you don't disclose to people what that is. Yeah, yeah, seriously. I was just reading somebody else's comments. Ray J has demonstrated hostility. Doesn't matter. You can have hostility towards someone and you still have your right to free speech. He knows his connection from decades ago is the only thing that keeps him relevant. He's utterly forgotten as a figure without the Kardashians. So he needs to make more explosive comments to stay in public consciousness as a direct result of his statements. The Kardashian Jenners have suffered economic damage, harm to their reputation, shame, mortification, and hurt feelings. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. I cannot believe you can sue for hurt feelings. They are entitled to damages. And then they basically make the same claims in a support for their claim of false light invasion of privacy. So as I said earlier, I did spend over $100 of my own money on these documents today. So if y'all want to throw down $1, a $5 to help keep the lawsuit fund, the buying court documents fund up and running, that would be greatly appreciated. I did just recently get a $144,000 legal bill, which I have no idea how I'm going to pay, but I tried to not really think about it much and just keep it going. All right, so that was the Kardashians. That was the Kardashians' complaint against Ray J. Now, this is the answer to the complaint, and as you did hear, there was also a cross complaint filed, which we'll get into as well, but this is his answer to the complaint. This was filed on October 1st, 2025. He answers the complaint under California. That's crazy. When was the... October 1st? Oh, no. Oh, okay. No. Which one do I have up here? Yeah, answer. Okay. Not October 1st. Sorry. November 13th. November 13th. Answer to the complaint. This is only 5 pages long. It's very short, but it's, Ray J answers the complaint by the following under California Code of Civil Procedure. He generally and specifically denies every allegation and further denies that the plaintiffs are entitled to any relief. A settlement agreement. Okay. Number 1, first affirmative defense. So here's Ray J saying, no, I have defenses. A settlement agreement entered into by the parties releases Ray J from all liability to all claims in this complaint. Number 2, the matters alleged in the complaint are barred by a settlement agreement entered into by the parties. By conduct, representations, and omissions, Kim and Kris have waived, relinquished, or abandoned any claim for relief against Ray J. So this is Ray J saying, we got agreement going on. They waived their right to sue me. I don't know why they're suing me. He said on top of all of that, they, the Kardashian Jenners, approved of all Ray J's acts and omissions that they are now complaining about. They also have no standing to sue him, and without conceding that he has caused any damage to them, he is entitled to offset and recoup against any judgment made or entered against him. The statements made by him in the complaint were true. So what? Facts ain't defamation. Truth ain't defamation. You cannot win a defamation claim against somebody if they're telling, the person who made the statement is telling the truth. And that's a full defense to defamation. The truth is an absolute defense to defamation. Also barred by the doctrine of laches, barred by the doctrine of unclean hands, which means you can't sue somebody for something you caused. If you go and antagonize somebody and then, I don't know, let's not do that because that's a big case in the media right now. I don't want to do that. Let's do, you get in your car and you're drinking. You're drinking, you're over the legal limit, and you get into a car accident. But technically, it maybe wasn't your fault, but you still shouldn't have been drinking. That's kind of like similar to the doctrine of unclean hands, where it's like you can't sue somebody for something when you were in the wrong too. Or maybe, your damages should be mitigated because you were in the wrong too. You should have been not drinking, because if you weren't drinking, maybe you could have reacted faster, etc. And they're equitably estopped because there is a contract. Okay. He says Ray J prays for judgment as follows: that Kim and Kris are not able to take anything from this action. The complaint be dismissed in its entirety with prejudice. The costs of the suit incurred in defense of this action. He wants his costs of the suit. And he does sue also under the anti-SLAPP statute, which we're going to read momentarily or shortly. He also wants his attorney's fees from them. And I could see a world where he might be able to get them. But to me, it's a little bit of a toss-up. And for other relief as this court deems equitable. And this was filed in November. Okay. So that was his answer to the complaint, and this is his cross complaint. Okay, this will be the cross complaint. And I did speak about this earlier, but this has to do with a contract, with the contract. It's not having to do and related to the S tape, all right? And this ends up being important in a little while. So this is Ray J suing the Kardashians. It's the same day as his answer to the complaint. And the Kardashians, by the Kardashians, I just mean Kim and Kris and their company. Oh, excuse me. For breach of contract and declaratory relief, and he wants a jury trial. This one's 11 pages long. Kim Kardashian and Kris Jenner's lawsuit is not about defamation, according to Ray J. It's about publicity, power, and punishment. Mother and daughter have spent 2 decades peddling the false story that the S tape that Kardashian filmed with Ray J was leaked against her will. Okay, so he comes out with the gloves on, guns blazing. You want to talk about 2 decades peddling false stuff? Y'all are the ones been peddling false stuff. 2 decades y'all been peddling the false story that the S tape that Kardashian willingly filmed with Ray J was leaked against her will. Ray J says the Kardashians and Jenners are furious that Ray J no longer wants to play along with this tall tale. They filed their lawsuit to feed their insatiable appetite for attention, garner support. Sorry. They filed the lawsuit. Jesus. I cannot clear this tickle in the back of my throat. They filed their lawsuit to feed their insatiable appetite for attention, garner support for their various media and marketing enterprises, and exact retribution on Ray J. Their complaint is a public relations charade. Half their allegations consist of self-indulgent, self-laudatory assertions about the Kardashians and their business endeavors, and the other half of their complaints are malicious falsehoods about Ray J. Now, again, y'all, this is not my opinion. This is Ray J's version of events. So we just read the Kardashians' version of events, and now we're getting to see Ray J's side of the story. He said, here's the truth. Here's the truth. On the reality show, The Kardashians, Kim Kardashian, Kris Jenner, and Kim Kardashian's ex-husband, Kanye, formerly known as Kanye West, falsely accused Ray J of sexually assaulting Kim Kardashian while she was asleep. Falsely accused Ray J of revenge porn and extortion. After Ray J initiated legal proceedings, Kim Kardashian, Kris Jenner, and their production company entered into a settlement agreement with him. Kim Kardashian agreed to pay Ray J $6 million. Kim and Kris agreed to ensure that no further mention or public reference to the S-tape would be made on the Kardashians, and any further disparagement entitled Ray J to $1 million in liquidated damages. Yet, almost immediately after the agreement was executed, statements by Kim and Kris and Ye and Kendall about the S-tape aired on the Kardashians, and this was a violation of the agreement. So, again, here's the truth. On the reality show, they all made these false allegations, according to Ray J. The truth according to Ray J. They made this, not all of them, but, Kris, Kim, Kanye, Kendall, they all made allegations about Ray J. This caused Ray J to sue them, and they did a settlement agreement. The settlement agreement resulted in a $6 million payout. That means Kris and Kim and them paid Ray J $6 million, according to this lawsuit. Yet almost immediately, after they signed that agreement and paid him off, they still made more statements about the S-tape on the show. Kardashian and Jenner's sole remedy under that agreement was to bring any claim into confidential arbitration. But instead, they filed a, quote, meritless lawsuit against Ray J for defamation and false light publicity claims which they released in that agreement. So he's saying they're suing me for something they already agreed not to be able to sue me for. Ray J will not allow Kim Kardashian and Kris Jenner to weaponize the judicial system, shirk their contractual obligations, or sacrifice him on the altar of fame. He gets into the parties. We already know who they are. So this is Ray J's side of the story. He said, in 2003, I was dating Kim, and we consensually filmed ourselves having relations during a trip to Mexico. We'll call that the Cabo tape. Now, according to Ray J, Kim Kardashian kept that tape, which Ray J has never possessed. He says, I never had possession of that tape. 3 years later, 2006, Ray J and Kardashian, that's Kim, discussed releasing the tape publicly. Now, this would have been about 2 years after Paris Hilton's tape was supposedly leaked. That came out in 2004. So 2006, Ray J said, me and Kim actually talked about releasing that tape. Kim Kardashian had worked for Paris Hilton, whose tape was leaked without her consent, drawing meteoric international attention. Kardashian aspired to even greater fame than Paris, and I'd say she definitely landed it. She insisted that Kris Jenner, her mom, had to be in charge of the tape's release and commercial exploitation. Okay, so Ray J is saying Kim Kardashian herself said her mama had to be in charge of releasing this tape. Whoo! Kris Jenner had Kim and Ray J sign licensing agreements with the Korn production company that released the tape called Vivid Entertainment. Kris Jenner made her daughter and Ray J film a second tape in Santa Barbara. Now, I'm just trying to figure out, was that at the same meat locker where David had Celeste? I don't know. That's an imagination vision, girl. I don't know. Anyway, there were 2 tapes now in this lawsuit, according to Ray J. Now, eventually he'll come out and say there were 3. But this is where, in this cross complaint we're reading right now that was filed in November last year, he said Kris Jenner herself made her daughter and me refilm another tape because the first one wasn't dirty enough. Kris considered it to be insufficiently, quote, dirty. Kris watched both tapes before the group, the 3 of them, collectively decided to release the Cabo tape. So it was the first one that the first tape that they filmed was in Cabo. That is the one that ended up, I was going to say we saw, but I didn't see that whole tape. I did see, unfortunately, clips of it, but this was years and years and years ago when some dirty boys in the trailer park showed it to me against my will. Anyway, they turned it off promptly, but that was the tape. The first one, the one that was released to the public, was the one they filmed in Cabo, but Kris Jenner said it wasn't dirty enough, according to this lawsuit. I definitely don't know. I wasn't there. But Ray J is saying, like, yeah, it wasn't dirty enough. She made us do another tape. And then she watched both of them and then decided, okay, the second one is maybe too dirty or still not up to her standards. And Kris Jenner was the one that decided to release this supposed Cabo tape. Now, this could all be false and fake. I don't know. I wasn't there. I'm just reading y'all the counter claim that Ray J filed. Kim, Kris, and Vivid Entertainment agreed that Kim would file a bogus lawsuit. So this was all for PR, according to Ray J. She sued Vivid Entertainment. Why? To create buzz ahead of the tape's release. This is LA Superior Court case number BC 3666. Stop it. The case has 666 in the number. Stop it. And a 3. Oh no. The complaint states that Kim did not intend, authorize, or consent to the distribution of the videotape and never intended or expected the videotape of her most intimate acts to be made a product of commercial exploitation and mass public distribution. Ray J said, quote, "These were lies. These were lies. Not true." He said Vivid Entertainment and Kim Kardashian leaked to TMZ that they settled for $5 million, but there was no such settlement. Oh my gosh, the tea he is spilling. So in March 2007, Vivid distributed the Cabo tape as Kim Kardashian Superstar. Kim Kardashian and Ray J stayed friends after the release of this tape. But after Ray J's mother and business, so he got a momager too, Sonia Norwood, she discovered that Kim Kardashian and her siblings had incurred about $850,000 in unauthorized charges to credit cards maintained by members of the Norwood family. Okay, so not just Ray J's. Okay, so we have 2 families. The Norwoods, that's Ray J, Brandy and them, Sonia and them, and the Kardashians. We'll include the Jenners there. Okay. Norwoods, Jenners, or Norwoods, Kardashians. According to Ray J, the Kardashians spent collectively $850,000 of the Norwood's money. And unbeknownst to them, basically stole it. That's what they're alleging here. Kim Kardashian begged Ray J to ask his mom to drop her from the lawsuit. She said she didn't care. She was fine with them suing her siblings. But Ray J refused. He said, no, I'm definitely still suing you. And then they had a falling out. Now, the next section of Ray J's counterclaim is Kardashian and Jenner capitalized on the tape for nearly 2 decades. So it's interesting because if you compare the two different sides of the story, Kim and her mama are alleging that Ray J has been capitalizing off their name for 2 decades. But on the other hand, Ray J's saying they've been capitalizing off of him for 2 decades. So they're kind of accusing each other of pretty much the same things. Somebody said they opened their store with Mama Sonia's credit card. Oh, okay. Is that true? Is that even legal to fake a lawsuit that never happened? I don't know, girl. Yeah, she did sue Vivid, and we're going to talk more about that on my live stream later. Not live stream, excuse me. On my BJ Investigates episode later, we're going to talk a little bit more about that lawsuit with Vivid. And how there was like supposedly a settlement, and then Kim started receiving information about the performance of the tape and other stuff. Okay. So when Ray J refused to drop Kim Kardashian from the lawsuit about the $850,000 that the Kardashians apparently spent of the Norwood's money, that's whenever finally the couple who had remained friends, but now they no longer remain friends, they had a falling out. This was in 2007. All right, 2007. Pretty sure that's the same year that tape came out. Kardashian and Jenner, according to Ray J, again, this is Ray J's perspective, Ray J's version of events. He said then they continue to capitalize off this S-tape for the next 20 years. Cashing in on the S-tape notoriety, Jenner landed a deal in August 2007 for her family to appear on a reality television series called Keeping Up with the Kardashians. The show's first episode opens with Kim and Kris lying about their role in the tape's release. The first episode of the show, as I have continued to try to bang the drum to tell y'all hello, the first episode, this entire family's entire show was dependent upon this S-tape. Ray J said the show's first episode opens with Kim and Kris lying about their role in the tape's release. For the next 2 decades, Kardashian took every opportunity to draw attention to herself and painstakingly weave this false victim narrative around the tape. Kardashian penned a falsehood-riddled essay about the S-tape for Glamour magazine and discussed the tape in interviews with GQ, Rolling Stone, LA Times, Oprah Winfrey, David Letterman, Andy Cohen, and Tyra Banks. Y'all, I have looked high and low, near and far for this Tyra Banks show, and it's completely wiped from the internet. I barely was able to even find proof that it ever even actually happened. There's like a couple little snippets of it that you can find. But if anybody has that full episode or any way how to find it, I have been looking for it for a very long time. Okay, next section. Kim and Kris fake an S-tape controversy to promote the Kardashians in 2021. Okay, again, so that was Keeping Up with the Kardashians. Now we have their own show, The Kardashians. It's pretty much just another reality show based on the family. In 2021, Kim and Kris began to work on their new show. They both serve as executive producers, script the show, and choreograph the show, and they meticulously review and approve all footage. To generate publicity for the premiere, Kim and Kris manufactured a fresh, fake S-tape controversy. In season 1, Kim says that Ray J, number 1, gave the Santa Barbara tape, which she knows he never possessed, to his former manager. And I guess that's his mom. I don't know who's the former manager. And number 2, that he allegedly sexually assaulted her by sticking a blank up her blank. Oh my God, while she was asleep. Oh my Lord. So Ray J said that's not true. They was lying on that show, or to promote that show. Kim, Kris, and Ye also accused Ray J of extorting them for a laptop containing the Santa Barbara tape. And remember, what is the Santa Barbara tape? That is the tape, the second S tape that they filmed, allegedly, according to Ray J. So there's the Cabo tape. That's the first one. That's the one that did ultimately end up getting released. And then there is the Santa Barbara tape, which is supposedly dirtier, more dirty. And maybe that had to do with something about this part, aspect. No pun intended. Ray J agreed to commercially release that first tape. He never agreed to this. He messaged Kim on Instagram in April 2022 to confront her about her lies that were broadcast on the show. In an attempt to remedy the situation, Kim begged Ray J to go along with yet another false story that Kim wanted to run on the show, that they were working with Vivid to remove the S tape from the internet. Ray J declined. At that point, he initiated a lawsuit. He sued them against Kim and Kris after a mediation. So they went to mediation. Cross defendants, that's Kim and Kris, Ray J, and the momager on the Norwood side, Sonia. They all entered into an agreement, which we did read portions of that was redacted earlier. They entered into that in April 2023. A summary of the terms is below. Number 1, payment. Kardashian would pay Norwood $6 million. Why? Because he claims that she made stuff up and defamed him. Also, all the parties agreed not to make any further public statements. The agreement parties must refrain from any further public reference to the tape, including ensuring no further mention or public reference to the tape was made on the Kardashians. Public statements made prior to the agreement's effective date were not covered by this provision. So maybe they had already made the statements and it was recorded for the Kardashians, and that's what they're trying to argue. We had already made those statements. We didn't make any new statements. But Ray J's saying, yeah, they were literally executive producers. They were the ones who decided, among other people, what was going to go live or what wasn't, or be published or what wasn't. The agreement parties cannot disparage each other. This is part of the agreement, a non-disparagement clause. They cannot disparage each other or authorize other people to commit disparagement. There was also a mutual release in the agreement. It stated that it constitutes the settlement of all past, current, or future dispute claims. And the agreement parties wished to fully, finally, and forever resolve all disputes. And there was emphasis added here. The mutual release extends to claims that hereafter can, shall, or may exist between the parties, and it excludes only claims based on actual or alleged breach of this agreement. So it excludes, that's interesting. So they can go to court if this agreement is breached. That doesn't make sense to me. I have a lot more to get through, so I'm not going to waste the brain power getting into too much of the explanation, but I'm just going to flag this right here. This doesn't make sense to me. Damages. Violations of the non-disparagement provision entitle the non-breaching party, which Ray J is claiming he is, to $1 million in liquidated damages, consequential, indirect, and special damages. The agreement parties must litigate any issues arising from this agreement in confidential arbitration. And he says, all right, so we signed that contract. We signed that agreement. And season 3 comes out of this Kardashian show. That premiered May 2023. This was literally a month after the agreement was executed. Episodes 1 and 10 of season 3 feature statements by Kim Kardashian, Kris Jenner, Kanye West, and Kendall Jenner about this S tape. Ray J promptly notified Jenner and Kris and Kim and all them that they materially breached the agreement. But Kris and Kim insisted the agreement did not extend to season 3. Okay, so this is their argument. The agreement doesn't apply to season 3. But Ray J's saying, shut the hell up. We literally said we want to fully, finally, and forever resolve these disputes. What do you mean it doesn't? So, that doesn't say only season 1. They claim, though, this is what I had predicted. They claim, Kris Jenner and Kim Kardashian claim, that this season 3 was already filmed. They already filmed it. They didn't say those statements after the agreement was signed. Okay, yeah, but they are executive producers, and that's what Ray J's trying to argue. This position that the Jenners took defies the agreement's plain text, acknowledges that season 3 statements. Y'all see this thing? It's okay. It was like giving me the rainbow wheel. Hold on, I need to send a text. Okay. Promptly. Oops, hold on. So he promptly notified them that they breached this agreement, but they insisted no, they didn't, because they had said those statements already before they entered into the agreement. But this position, according to Ray J, defies the plain text of the agreement, acknowledging season 3 statements absolutely would constitute a breach of the agreement. Cross defendants, that's Kim and Kris, tried to coax Ray J and his mama into signing an amendment to the agreement for no consideration. Don't get me started on no consideration. Contracts only require 3 things: offer, acceptance, consideration. Okay, so if you don't have the third one, it's not a contract. What would release the cross? Okay, so basically, so what Ray J is saying is, I notified them. Me and my mama told the Kardashian Jenners they violated the agreement that they had willingly, voluntarily, and had lawyers to help them sign. And when they violated the agreement, then they tried to get me and my mama to enter into an extra amendment. They weren't going to pay us anything extra. They weren't going to do anything extra. Just all of a sudden, they wanted us to sign our rights away to sue under it. And we didn't do that, he said. And they're like, basically like, Ray J's like, basically they were like, the contract doesn't extend to season 3. But if they really believed that, why would they even want him to sign some type of amendment? You know what I mean? Okay. They use that tape as a plot line in multiple seasons. Interesting. She won't own up to it because she needs the victim angle. I'm just reading some of y'all's comments. Okay, so it says, defendants, cross defendants, that's Kris and Kim, tried to coax Ray J and his mom into signing an amendment to the agreement for no consideration that would release the cross defendants from liability for public statements. This was made, that were made but not publicized until after the effective date. Now, they basically tried to add this amendment here. And this amendment would have said, oh, any statements they actually made before we signed the agreement, then that should be excluded. They had the wherewithal to put that in that original contract, and they should have. They had the wherewithal to put it in the original contract, and they didn't, but they should have. So Ray J says, me and my mama said, no, we're not signing that amendment. You stupid. Next section. Norwood's RICO comments. Understandably, Ray J was frustrated by Kim and Kris's blatant violations of the agreement, which he had signed to protect his young children from further exposure to Kim and Kris's lies about the S-tape. On May 30th, 2025, Ray J says, yeah, I appeared on a TMZ show concerning the high-profile trial of Diddy, who was charged in federal court with RICO and other stuff. At the time, There was extensive public discourse. Remember, we went through the context of what was kind of like going on. Oh, shoot. My light's not on, so I can't turn on my fan. During this time. At the time, there was extensive public discourse about the criminal enterprise element of Diddy's RICO violation. Many legal commentators agreed RICO was not an appropriate charge, and Diddy was acquitted later of violating RICO. Ray J saw parallels between RICO and Kardashian and Jenner's conspiracy with Vivid Entertainment to release and lie about the S-tape, as well as cross-defendants, that's Kris and Kim's conspiracy. He's accusing them of conspiracy to trick him into signing an agreement before broadcasting further content about the tape. Ray J considered whether he should bring his own lawsuit against Kim and Kris under the civil RICO statute, and whether they would be prosecuted for RICO violations. So during this is all coming from Ray J's side of things, is Ray J's perspective. So during the TMZ show, Ray J explained that Diddy's RICO charge didn't make sense. He threw in an aside of, if you told me the Kardashians were being charged for racketeering, I might believe it. But Diddy? Again, this is this is basically one half of the Kardashian Jenners' claim against Ray J. On September 24th, 2025, Ray J appeared on a Twitch live stream. When his part ended, he walked off camera, and he thought his microphone was off. He made an off-camera comment. Oh! The comments Ray J made were off camera. Huh. And what was the comment? Let's read it. He said, "This federal RICO, though, Kim Kardashian and Kris, the federal RICO I'm about to drop on them, it's about to be crazy. If anybody knows Kim or is cool with Kim, they need to tell her now the rain coming, the feds is coming. It's worse than Diddy. The feds is coming to investigate because I can't be the dirty guy no more." So maybe he, reported their activity to the feds or something. I don't know. But this is very interesting to me. He believed his microphone was off. And so did he intend to publicize these statements? Yes or no? Hard to tell. The next month, just like about a week later, October 2025, Kardashian and Jenner sued Ray J for defamation and false light publicity based on his comments to TMZ. And on Twitch live stream, that was called the lawsuit. They sued him, and Ray J is saying that was a breach of the agreement that they entered into to go to arbitration and not sue me in court. They accused Ray J of being unable to accept the end of his fleeting relationship with Kim over 20 years ago. They accused Ray J of conducting a calculated campaign of lies and harassment. They accused Ray J of a years-long pattern of exploiting Kim and Jenner's names for notoriety. They accused Ray J in their lawsuit, and we just read it. That was the previous document we read, or the first document we read here. They accused him of making vulgar remarks about prominent women, apparently in hopes of staying relevant in the media. Nothing could be further from the truth, Ray J said. And the irony of these statements is apparently lost on Kim and her mama. Due to the lawsuits, Kardashian-obsessed portrayal of Ray J, his business partners have expressed hesitation with moving forward with planned television and live streaming projects unless he publicly cleared his name. Accordingly, Ray J contested the lawsuit's narrative about him on his Instagram account, including by discussing the agreement. Even though Kris and Kim have waived their right to enforce the arbitration provision by filing this lawsuit in the first place, they have filed a demand for arbitration against Ray J, saying his statements on Instagram violate the agreement. The agreement does not allow Kris and Kim to push their propaganda publicly in a lawsuit while burying the existence of the agreement in confidential arbitration. Well, it ain't confidential no more because now we all know about it. Ray J realleges and reincorporates all the previous, and then he gets into his claims for breach of contract. He said, "I have performed all my obligations under this contract. If my statements on Twitch, TMZ, or Instagram would be a breach of the contract, then the breaches were not material, and if any failure to perform was excused because Kim and Kris dragged me into court." As a result of these breaches, he's entitled to $1 million at least in liquidated damages. And he also wants attorney's fees. Second cause of action, he realleges and reincorporates by reference each of the preceding paragraphs as if restated in full. An actual present controversy exists concerning whether the arbitration provision, there's an actual disagreement, basically, that whether this should be being heard in a courtroom at all or if it needs to be going to arbitration. Okay, on the first, so then he asks the court for what he wants. He said on the first cause of action, defamation, he wants the judge to order the cross defendants, that's Kim and Kris, to pay him liquidated damages of at least $1 million and also any additional damages, including indirect, special damages, or consequential or actual damages. On the second cause of action, he wants a judge to make a declaration that the arbitration provision of the agreement should prevail here, and they should have to bring these to the arbitration court. Okay, so that is the next document. Okay, so now there's a declaration of Sonia Norwood. I haven't even read this one, but all of this stuff was filed concurrently together with that cross complaint we just read from Ray J. So let's see what Sonia had to say. This is Ray J's mom / also momager. Okay, so here is Sonia Norwood, Ray J's mom's declaration. She filed in court on the same day as that cross complaint, I think. It's, oh no, excuse me. She filed this on the same day as the anti-SLAPP motion. All right, so we'll get into the anti-SLAPP motion also on today's live show. So this is the mom's declaration. She said, I have personal knowledge of the facts set forth herein, which are known to me to be true and correct, and if I'm called as a witness, I could competently testify. This declaration is submitted in support of my son's anti-SLAPP motion against these Jenners. In or around 2008, I discovered, whoo, girl, Mama Sonia speaking up. She said, I discovered that Kim Kardashian and her siblings, Khloe, Kourtney, and Robert, had incurred around $850,000 in unauthorized charges to credit cards maintained by members of my family. I sued them. The case number is BC 384786, and before I filed suit, I told my son Ray J about the Kardashian siblings' theft. I declare under penalty of perjury that this is all true. So that's her statement, all right? That is Sonia Norwood. She said, I sued those Kardashian siblings. Now we have a declaration from Ray J filed on the same day. This is just about 5 months ago, December 2025. Okay. Declaration of Ray J. Oh man, this one's 45 pages, girl. Okay. So he said, I'm known as Ray J. In 2003, we made this tape in Mexico. In 2006, me and Kim agreed to release the tape to make her more famous than Paris Hilton. That's why they wanted to release the tape, to make her more famous than Paris Hilton. And remember, Kim was Paris Hilton's closet organizer just as much so as she was the assistant or the stylist of Brandy, right? And now, even as recently as a couple years ago, Kim and Paris are apparently still out here gallivanting like they're friends. I wonder if that's still true since this has been filed. Ray J's declaration goes on. Kim's mom, Kris, was in charge of the tape's release, and commercial exploitation. Kim, Kris, and the corn production company that agreed to release the S-tape, called Vivid Entertainment, agreed that Kris would file a fake lawsuit against the company. Oh my God, a fake lawsuit. That is nuts. For the purpose of creating buzz ahead of the tape's release. The Los Angeles Superior Court case number is BC 366625. I fell out with the entire Kardashian family after my mama, Sonia, discovered that Kim and her siblings had incurred $850,000 in unauthorized charges to credit cards maintained by members of my family. My mom sued Kim and her sisters and her brother, and I don't know what ended up happening with that. The settlement agreement. Okay. Season 1 of Kim and Kris's show, The Kardashians, aired in 2022. On episode 1 of season 1, Kim accused me of giving a, quote, second S-tape to my, quote, former manager. She accused me of holding the tape over her head for 19 years and for sticking a blank up her blank while she was asleep. These comments were rebroadcast on season 1, episode 2, and they included further false statements by Kim, Kris, and Khloe. Is it Khloe or Kendall? Because now we've heard it was Khloe and Kendall. In episode 3, Kim, Kris, and Kanye accused me of extorting them for a laptop containing the second tape. Ray J said none of these statements were true. He said, rewind the tape, no pun intended, back in 2006, 20 freaking years ago at this point, I did agree to commercially release the tape. I never agreed to be portrayed as the leaker of the tape or a fake second tape, which was the supposed revenge corn. I never agreed to be portrayed as a artist, sticking the blank up her blank while she was asleep. He said, I never agreed for that portrayal. I never agreed to be portrayed as an extortionist. I am a family man and the father of 2 young children who are ages 5 and 7. For more than 18 years, I have lived under the weight of false narratives publicly promoted by this family. With the release of the Kardashians, Kim, Kris, and their family were rehashing old wounds and perpetuating the false narrative to viewers of their new show. So, Ray J says, in September 2022, I posted a series of videos on Instagram explaining Kim and Kris had always been lying about their role in the release of the tape, and they had lied about me on their show. My videos went viral and received significant media attention, including from the LA Times, from TMZ, from Entertainment Tonight, from Business Insider. I retained attorneys who conveyed to Kim and Kris that I was going to sue them. Kim, Kris, and I instead went to mediation. After the mediation, Kim, Kris, my mom, and I all signed this settlement agreement. This is Ray J's declaration. So some of this is repeat from information that we already received, but this is his declaration from his perspective. He said after the settlement agreement was signed by Kim, Kris, me, and my mom, it became effective on April 11th, 2023. Under this agreement, Kim agreed to pay me $6 million in installments under the, quote, no further public statements by parties. Okay, so April 11th, 2023 is the effective date of the agreement. And the Jenner clan claims that the statements that Ray J's so mad about were all made before 2023, April 2023. All parties under the contract had to refrain from any further public reference to the tape, including, quote, by ensuring no further mention or public reference to the tape was made on the Kardashians. Public statements made prior to the agreement's effective date were not covered by this provision. Under the non-disparagement provision, all the parties couldn't disparage each other on any side or authorize other people to disparage. Violations would entitle the party that didn't breach to $1 million in liquidated damages, consequential, indirect, and special damages. Ray J said, before I signed the agreement, Kim and Kris never told me they had already taped statements of themselves, Kanye, Kendall. Is it Kendall or Chloe? About the S tape. Those comments were aired on season 3, episode 1, and on episode 10 of the Kardashians. Episode 1 aired in May 2023, and episode 10 was in July. My attorneys immediately notified Kim and Kris that they breached the agreement we all agreed to. Kim and Kris attorneys responded that the agreement didn't extend to season 3 because it was filmed before the agreement's effective date. Ha ha. Y'all know that they knew that they had made them statements. This makes no sense, Ray J said, because it blatantly contradicts the actual language of the contract we agreed to, that there would be no further statements by the parties. Kim and Kris had defrauded me, Ray J said. They tricked me into signing the agreement to silence me. They muzzled him. They then broadcast even more content about this tape, even though they promised me in writing they would not do that. I would never have signed the agreement if I knew that this was their plan all along. I wanted to protect my kids from continuing to be exposed to this false narrative about me and this tape. I don't want my children to grow up being exposed to a false and damaging portrayal of their father as a pornographic figure rather than a parent, a professional, and a human being. Okay, I actually am going to push back on this right here that Ray J is saying. It isn't a false portrayal of him as a pornographic figure. He is a pornographic figure. He admits he agreed to release the tape. However, I could definitely see how it could be damaging for him to be being portrayed in the way that he claims to be being portrayed if all of what he is saying is true. Again, this is just Ray J's side of things, his perspective. He says in June 2024, about 2 years ago, he did 2 interviews. One with Club Shay Shay. Oh, Lord. Shay Shay was busy that year. And one with Hollywood Unlocked. The interviewers asked him about the tape. He said, I did not bring up the tape myself. In response to these questions, I never mentioned Kim or Kris by name, and I never disparaged them. June 7th, 2024, that same month, my attorneys at the time received a letter from Michael G. Rhodes, who was Kim and Kris's attorney at the time, and the letter said that my comments during the interviews violated the agreement. Kim and Kris demanded I pay the $1 million and insisted on me retracting or rescission of any remaining payment obligations. Kris and Kim had refused to pay me when they flagrantly violated the agreement. Now, they were sending their lawyers to demand that I pay them for things that I said that were clearly not violations of the agreement. This makes somebody go crazy, y'all. He goes on and says, Kris and Kim were clearly threatening me so that I would shut up about them forever. This is extortion, according to Ray J. According to Ray J, everybody's innocent until proven guilty. The trial of Sean P. Diddy Puff Daddy Combs is the next section. So in September 2024, Diddy was arrested. He's a world-famous business mogul. Federal prosecutors had charged him with violating the racketeer, the RICO. He said, I've known Diddy personally for a long time, and everyone was talking about his trial. So I used search engines and AI, including Chat GPT, to research RICO and Diddy's case. And I watched news coverage and commentary on the trial, including articles and videos about what RICO is. Oh, girl, you know he was in my live streams. He said he also was asking ChatGPT and watching videos and Googling about whether Diddy had engaged in a criminal enterprise or racketeering activity under RICO and whether RICO was an appropriate charge in Diddy's case. Ray J said I also found out that the federal government has charged a lot of celebrities with violating RICO, including R. Kelly, even though RICO was traditionally used to prosecute the mob. I do not understand why somebody like Diddy was prosecuted for RICO when Kim and Kris have engaged in RICO violations for years. That's what Ray J is alleging. Now, he's got sued over saying these things, so don't take my word for it. I'm not saying that. I'm just reading his perspective. Kris and Kim conspired, he said, with Vivid Entertainment to defraud the public with their fake lawsuit. They stole hundreds of thousands of dollars from my family by committing credit card fraud. They defrauded me into signing an agreement. They sent their lawyers to extort me after I did interviews in 2024. To me, Kim and Kris have repeatedly engaged in a criminal enterprise and racketeering activity violating RICO over and over again. I have no doubt about that. Ooh, he doubled down, y'all. He doubled down. Kim and Kris's RICO violations are worse than any RICO violation that Diddy is accused of. This is according to Ray J. Don't sue me. I'm not saying this is true. I don't know. I wasn't there. Kim and Kris have repeatedly and obviously conducted racketeering activity for years, according to Ray J. And no one has stopped them. The entire Kardashian empire is a criminal enterprise akin to the mob. Oh my gosh, y'all, he snapped. The Kardashian empire, their family, their companies, and their attorneys. Alex Spiro, he's coming for you. He said y'all are all in a criminal enterprise akin to the mob. Every time someone does something the Kardashians don't like, they use their money and power to silence them. The Kardashian enterprise has made billions of dollars off the racketeering activities, according to Ray J in his declaration. He said, in the time I spent with Diddy, I never saw him commit S trafficking, which the federal government said was racketeering activity. That's not exactly correct. There were two separate there were two separate statutes under which Diddy was charged. One was RICO, and one was S trafficking, and he was charged with 2 counts of that. Now, all 3 of those charges, he was found not guilty. He was found not guilty on the 2 counts of S trafficking. He was found not guilty on the count of RICO, but he conflates the 2 here. They were not the same thing. However, Diddy did get found not guilty. Whether you like it or not, that's the truth and that's the facts. He said, I never saw him commit S trafficking, yet he still got prosecuted for it. This is unfair. I have no doubt as to any of these beliefs that I still hold. He says it's not fair Diddy got prosecuted and the Kardashians haven't. He said, I learned that individuals can sue each other under RICO. So he learned that there was a civil action for RICO violations. He said, I seriously considered suing Kris and Kim. I believed my lawsuit would bring the RICO violations to the federal government's attention, leading the government to investigate and prosecute Kim Kardashian and Kris Jenner. I have never doubted this. He said the Kardashians' RICO violations are extensive. The government does not want to be hypocritical and treat the Kardashians differently than it treated Diddy and R. Kelly. So the government loves prosecuting celebrities under RICO. I'm not really sure about these sentences right here, how they go together, but he's basically saying, I really thought that I would be able to get the government to go after the Kardashians for RICO. I thought it was an open and shut case. I really thought that. And I even considered suing them under RICO. He probably went to a lawyer and talked to a lawyer about it too, but he can't really say that because that's kind of like protected lawyer-client privilege. And if he comes out and starts talking about stuff, then it kind of opens the door and it kind of can implicate the privilege. So he probably did talk to a lawyer who probably said, you're going to have a hard time getting them for RICO. You might need to do something else. Okay. So then he goes on to the next section here. He said, my background in, quote, reality entertainment and trolling. Prior to the release of the tape, I had successfully pursued a career in music and acting. The tape The tape and subsequent false portrayal of me as the tape's leaker has affected my professional opportunity in those fields. What fields? Music and acting. So I pivoted into reality entertainment and later into streaming and technology ventures. Oh yeah, Raycon. I achieved some success despite these obstacles. Now, I am a well-known figure in a subgenre of reality entertainment consisting of highly dramatic, over-the-top television shows, streaming shows, talk shows, and podcasts, widely known for playful exaggerations, caricatures, and contrived fights designed to provoke and boost ratings and drive clicks. I still haven't forgot him and Brandy sitting on that front row in that Scientology year-end review. Have not forgot that. He said there are several nicknames for this subgenre, but it's easiest to refer to it as high drama reality content. Viewers and listeners understand high drama reality content. Got my rainbow wheel of doom here. Although branded as reality, it features staged storylines that are not to be taken seriously or at face value. I don't really like this, that he's basically like relying on the fact that we all know reality TV is fake, even though they call it reality TV. Like, oh, everybody knows it's fake. Well, that doesn't like give you permission to just be lying all over the place. Anyway, it says, to give you a few examples of my prominence in the high drama reality world, I've starred in the highly popular high drama reality franchise Love and Hip Hop for over a decade. I'm the founder of the streaming platform Tronics Network, which features a variety of high drama reality shows. Oh, I also produce and appear on shows for the Zeus Network, you don't say. Including the Conversation, Baddies, and Love Cabin. Baddies is where Kris Jenner is on. Okay, it's the web is definitely webbing in my mind. Each of these shows is a prime example of the high... Okay, hold on. Let me... What is going on here? Hold on. Something's going on with my... Thank you so much to Internet Legio for the $10 super chat. Thanks for bringing us all this free content, all the vibes and favor to you and yours. Thank you so much for that $10 super chat. I'm having issues here with my Finder, so I need to force quit it and pull it back up. It might be that my hard drive came... unhooked. Sorry, having a technical difficulty. The whole Finder did... Let's see. Just quitting some stuff. I don't know what. Yeah, the Kardashian curse coming from me. That would suck. Yeah, no, I really am having issues here. Hold on. Let me, I'm gonna go reconnect my hard drive. Give me a second. Okay, I'm back. It appears that may have fixed the problem. Thank God. Okay, let me pull this back up. Where are we on page 8? Thank you again, Lilo. Okay, Kris moderating the media. Indeed, Kris is in the walls, girl. She's inside my computer, girl. I'm just kidding. That's a joke. Jokes ain't defamation. I'm kidding. Okay, so we're back. We're back. We're on page 8. So he basically is saying, look, I was a professional singer, artist, career actor, all this, but pretty much like because I was portrayed as somebody that would leak an S tape, it really affected my ability to get work. So I basically became really involved in degenerated reality shows. Each of these shows is a prime example of high drama reality content. They all feature contrived, explosive, and exaggerated confrontations, drama, and fights. I'm also popularly known as a troll. Troll is someone who engages in provocation, insults people, talks a lot of smack online or on other streaming platforms. To be clear, trolling a person is not the same thing as slandering them. Say it again. Say it again. Now, I don't really think I'm like trolling people usually, but criticizing someone isn't the same as slandering them. I just need, the people that are late since 1776 to wake up. Anyway, he says trolling is actually a skill that successful streamers like me cultivate to generate public discourse and create chaos. I don't like it. I'll tell you that. I don't like it. I don't like it. If you're openly admitting to intentionally creating chaos around public discourse, you're kind of like publicly admitting to being like, one of those clowns that lied about me on that documentary, which I don't like. Due to my prominence in this world and my reputation as a troll, my over-the-top sensationalist behavior online and on television has gone mega viral. He said mega viral. If you Google top Ray J moments, the top search results are articles and videos from Vibe, Reddit, I don't give a shit. That Jed Wallace could have put that up there. YouTube, Bossip, whatever that is, TikTok, and Facebook. They compile my most notorious moments on the internet and television, including my unforgettable viral moments and the funniest, most memorable things I've said, most iconic, outrageous, and hidden moments. I mean, he's never beating the Scientology allegations, if you ask me. So then he finally gets around to the TMZ allegations. Now, if you're just joining, hi, hello, please click the like button on your way in. Please do click the like. It helps me a lot. If you missed it, I did spend more than $100 this morning on these documents. So any 99 cents, any $1 that y'all can spare would really help to go back into the court docs fund. But we're reading Ray J's declaration that he filed in court in this Kardashians lawsuit situation. So basically what happened was Kim Kardashian and her mama Kris sued Ray J. Ray J then sued them back. On top of suing them back, he also filed what's called an anti-slap motion. So he pretty much trying to get their defamation claims just dismissed entirely, and he wants attorney's fees and costs, because basically he's saying that they are trying to just shut him up and silence his free speech, which he's totally allowed to speak on these things. Now, he filed on the day that he filed the anti-slap motion, which we're going to get into in a little while. He filed this declaration, and this is what I'm reading right now is from specifically oh my God, I didn't read this word for word until right now, and I just read ahead, and I'm freaking out. But not freaking out, but I'm like, oh God, this will be good. But yeah, the propaganda gang's all here. I'll say that. He's finally addressing these TMZ comments that he made on TMZ. Now, he's being sued by Kris and Kim for basically two sets of comments. One set of comments he made to TMZ. The other set of comments he made a few months later, September 2025, to on a live stream with Krishan Rock. So on May 30th, 2025, the height of the Diddy trial, he appeared on a documentary. This is a classic example of a high drama reality program. It was streamed on Tubi, a streaming platform that any person can watch. TMZ, which is a notorious producer of high drama reality content, produced the show. The show was hosted by the head of TMZ, Harvey Levin. 4 legal commentators participated: Nancy Drunk-Ass Grace, Joe Tacopina, Ebony K. Williams, and Ashley Banfield. Okay, so the gang's all here. Nancy Grace, Joe, well, no, I guess not all, because I would have been expecting Mark Garagos. Nancy Drunk Grace, Joe Tacopina, Ebony K. Williams, and Ashley Banfield. I debated 4 panelists and Harvey for about 10 minutes. A copy of the video is attached as Exhibit 1, and there's a transcript attached as well. The next day, my attorneys at the time released a letter from a woman by the name of Christina Davis, who is the Kardashians' family attorney. Christina said that my comments on the TMZ show violated the agreement that we had previously entered into, and she demanded that I pay $2 million in liquidated damages and return $5 million that had already been paid. This was yet another example of extortion and racketeering activity. Oh, and then he gets on to ChatGPT. This is all according to Ray J, okay? This isn't my opinion. This isn't me saying this is my opinion. I don't have an opinion. I wasn't there. I don't even think I watched that Tubi documentary. Maybe I did. I don't remember. The AI chatbot, ChatGPT, he's trolling even in his own filings, y'all. He said, entrenched my beliefs that Kim, Kris, and their family violated RICO. Here are some examples of what ChatGPT told me. Girl, he put the quotes from the ChatGPT conversation in the lawsuit. In the declaration, he said, on August 31st, for example, I asked ChatGPT, so if Jesse Smollett went to jail, tell me what he went to jail for. And then on top of that, if this is a hate crime, what would Kris Jenner and Kim's crime be? ChatGPT said the following, comparing Kris and Kim. If what you're saying about proof, this is a ChatGPT quote, okay. If what you're saying about proof and orchestrating a scheme around you is true, then their actions wouldn't fall under false police report like Smollett. Instead, what prosecutors would look at is, number one, fraud, like if they manipulated contracts, money, or misled the public for profit. Okay, so he thought, because he asked ChatGPT said, well, if Kim and Kris misled the public for profit, that could be RICO. But that's not all. This is what prosecutors would look for, and it gives a list of 5 things. Number 2, conspiracy, RICO, if they work together as an organized effort to plan, execute, and cover up schemes. Number 3, what prosecutors would look at, according to ChatGPT, as relayed by Ray J in his declaration. This was filed in December. Prosecutors would look at obstruction or false statements. If the Kardashian Jenners knowingly lied in sworn statements, depositions, or to investigators. Okay, so this would be like, okay, they lied in the fake lawsuit against Vivid Entertainment sort of thing. I don't know if they did or didn't, but that's what Ray J alleges. Also, prosecutors would look at wire fraud and mail fraud. Since the deals, hush money, and broadcasts involve interstate wires, they would also perhaps look at coercion or defamation. In civil court, this is the civil RICO, if they harmed your name and manipulated the story. They say there's differences between Jesse Smollett and you. Bottom line, the Kardashians, if your case is airtight, would be more like fraud, racketeering, and conspiracy, white-collar crimes that can stretch into federal criminal territory and perhaps civil liability, etc. So he talked to ChatGPT on August 31st, 2025. Then, just a couple, 2-3 days later, he talks to ChatGPT again. And he told ChatGPT, quote, we're about to file a lawsuit on the Kardashians out here for federal RICO and for civil RICO and coercion and everything else. You have all the files. ChatGPT's response included the following. For a RICO case, you need an enterprise, a pattern of racketeering activity, and predicate acts. So what makes your angle strong is that the Hulu episodes are still live, it's ongoing conduct, and it keeps the RICO case from looking like old history. It positions it as continuing fraud for profit. Okay, so then basically he just goes through, I can't literally stand to read ChatGPT and like paragraphs and paragraphs of AI bullshit. So y'all can just take the word for it, or, you want to read it yourself, you can pause. Moving on, Twitch. Okay, so he goes on to the second set of statements, September 24th, 2025. He said, I appeared on a Twitch live stream video with my collaborator, Krishan Rock. She is a famous personality in the high drama reality world and is widely considered to be the ultimate troll. I've never heard her called that, so I don't know if I'd agree with that characterization. Twitch is a live streaming platform that any member of the public can access. I went on Twitch. When my part of the stream ended, I walked off camera. I believed my microphone was off. I didn't know that it was being live streamed, and I said this off camera. This federal RICO, though, on Kim Kardashian and Kris Jenner, ooh, The federal RICO I'm about to drop on Kris and Kim is about to be crazy. I'm talking about I'm going to be on the news like every day. Like, yeah. Meaning like I'm going to be saying a lot of stuff. But if anybody knows Kim, they cool with Kim, they need to tell her now. The rain is coming. The feds is coming. The feds is coming. There's nothing I can do about it. It's worse than Diddy. It's worse than Diddy. It's worse than Diddy. The feds is coming to investigate. Yeah. Because it's like, I can't be the dirty guy no more. When I realized my microphone was on, I immediately stopped talking. And I turned the microphone off. Several viewers recorded that portion of the stream, during which I made those off-camera comments. A copy of one of those viewer-recorded videos is attached. 3 people were on camera when I made my off-camera comments. A man, a woman, and Krishan. As you can see on the video attached, the man is wearing a hat and drinking from a red Solo cup. That man is not me. I was off camera the entire time when I inadvertently made all comments depicted in the video. The transcript is attached. Kris and Kim claim that I falsely claimed during a social media live stream to millions of viewers that federal authorities had initiated a criminal investigation. He said that is not what I said. And what I did say, he said I never meant to really say it like on camera. In fact, I think it's pretty clear what I actually said if you watch the video on Twitch. This federal RICO, KK and Kris, the federal RICO I'm about to drop on them is about to be crazy. I meant that I was intending to file a civil lawsuit claiming Kris and Kim had violated the RICO. When I said I'm on the news every day, yeah, I meant the public might not believe my claims in the suit or take them seriously due to the reputation that I have cultivated. When I said, but if anybody knows Kim, cool with Kim, they need to tell her the feds are coming, I meant Kris and Kim should be aware that my lawsuit would prompt the federal government to investigate them for violating RICO. When I said it's worse than Diddy, I meant Kim and Kris's RICO violations were worse than anything Diddy was accused of. The Kardashian empire is a criminal enterprise, he said. Oh my God, he just said it like that. The Kardashian empire is a criminal enterprise. The Kardashians have repeatedly engaged in racketeering activity. This is all according to Ray J. I am not making these claims myself. Everybody's innocent until proven guilty, including the Kardashians. He said, I never saw Diddy participate in a criminal enterprise, and I don't think what he did counts as racketeering. Woo! Okay. Hold on. Okay. So now we're going to get into the anti-slap that he filed. And we are going to get through as much as we possibly can today on today's live stream. I do have another about 50 minutes to go before we're going to move on over to the BJ Investigates video on this issue. And this one deals more with his more recent comments on the Cam Newton show and that Vivid Entertainment lawsuit and things like that. But I want to get through as much as we can today because my whole purpose for this stream today was so when y'all leave the live show and when you leave the BJ Investigates later, you have a better, more confident and comfortable understanding of what's actually going on in this lawsuit. Because it's just been all these back and forth, it's just been all these back and forth tabloid headlines. And it's like, what's even in the hell going on right now? Thank you so much to Portable Guillotine Studio or Galatian. Wait, hold on. Regulation. Who girl? Portable Guillotine. Huh? Thank you so much to Portable Regulation Studio for the $5 super chat. Thank you so much for taking the time to get the documents and report on this. I appreciate it. Thank you. And thank you, Lauren Alberto, for the $9.99. BJ Girl, thank you for all your hard work. You're welcome. You are welcome. Thank you. Okay, so here is the actual anti-slap. All right, so where are we in this whole thing? What we just read was Ray J's declaration that he attached to this anti-slap lawsuit, or filing, this motion. The First Amendment of the United States Constitution protects Americans' right to free speech. The government cannot regulate the content of our speech. They just can't. Sorry, no, we're allowed to talk. That means if a private citizen wants to sue somebody for defamation, the government, aka the courts, cannot step in and tell us that we can't tell our opinion about somebody. Don't care if it hurts your feelings. Don't care if it hurts your reputation. If you're saying your real belief, your real opinion, or it's true, too bad, so freaking sad. So in California, because there's all these celebrities and, famous people and especially issues of public concern, there is a law in place to bolster the First Amendment to say if you sue somebody over some shit that was supposed to be their First Amendment right and you lose, you got to pay their attorney's fees. You got to pay their costs. That's the anti-SLAPP statute. SLAPP, S-L-A-P-P, stands for Strategic Lawsuit Against Public Participation. So a lawsuit that is strategically filed against someone who is doing nothing other than expressing their free First Amendment right to belief, opinion, statements of fact, etc. Okay. So Ray J said, I didn't say anything that I wasn't allowed to say. They are trying to get the government to bully me, to control my speech, to control my statements on things I'm allowed to say. So he filed this statute. The anti-SLAPP, each state does have an anti-SLAPP statute. Not each state. Many states have an anti-SLAPP statute. The First Amendment is a constitutional provision, but there is, as far as I'm aware, last I checked, there is no federal anti-SLAPP statute, which I do think there should be, but there, no, it's state by state. And California has one of the most robust, heavily litigated anti-SLAPP. I actually have won an anti-SLAPP motion in a case and got awarded $87,000 or so in fees and costs, and because somebody did just that. She tried to sue me over something that I was allowed to say. She did sue me over something I was allowed to say. Now, unfortunately, New Jersey it didn't at the time have an anti-SLAPP statute. The funny thing is, since my case has been in the courts, in the federal courts, New Jersey has put into place a state anti-SLAPP. But no, we're talking about California here. So here we have this anti-SLAPP motion. So here's Ray J. And again, I want to be very clear. If you're just joining, hi, hello, make sure you press the like. Ray J filed this anti-SLAPP motion like 4 or 5 months ago, and the judge still has not decided on it. So Kim Kardashian's lawsuit against Ray J not only could be actually dismissed by this anti-SLAPP statute, it might not be. I'm not saying it is. I'm not saying weighing one way or another. It might not. Like, I just don't know. But this lawsuit that Kim has against Ray J and Kris Jenner and Kim have against Ray J could get completely thrown out. The judge has not decided on this anti-SLAPP. And in fact, and indeed, it seems like he is weighing and considering it very heavily because he has taken months to decide on it. You almost never hear about defamation cases being won or coming out of California that's because a lot of the anti-SLAPP rules here are so well enforced. Yes, I've been protected somewhat by it. I think that I should have been awarded more attorney's fees. I didn't get everything I asked for, and I should have, but here we are. Anyway, okay, so back to Ray J. Now, that 45-page filing we just read, and really was close to in the teens, that was filed, and Sonia Norwood, Ray J's mama's declaration, that was only like 1 page. All those were filed together with this anti-SLAPP. So let's hear Ray J's anti-SLAPP argument. Please take notice. We're going to be moving under the anti-SLAPP statute to strike all claims and allegations filed by Kim and Kris. Their claims and allegations are based on protected activity under California Code of Civil Procedure. And Kim and Kris cannot show a probability of prevailing on any of their claims. We are going to, and this is Ray J talking, I am going to seek to recover my fees and my costs at the hearing. His motion is based on this notice. Okay. So he puts the table of contents. This is his anti-slap motion. This right here is just the table of authorities, the lawsuits he relied on. Okay. Introduction. Plaintiffs Kim Kardashian and Kris Jenner allege that Ray J made statements on TMZ and Twitch, and this constitutes defamation and false light publicity. Ray J said, Kim and Kris's suit is a blatant slap lawsuit, the strategic lawsuit against public participation. And Your Honor, the anti-slap statute requires this court to strike the entire complaint. At step 1 of the anti-slap analysis, the challenged statements made by a public figure about public figures in a public forum are all protected conduct. Thus, at step 2, that shifts the burden onto Kim and Kris to show that they have a probability of prevailing on their defamation and false light publicity claims, which they cannot do. The burden unshifted to them and they can't do it. They cannot meet the burden, according to Ray J. This is his argument in his anti-slap motion. As to both the defamation and false light publicity claims, first, Kim and Kris cannot show that any of the challenged statements imply a provably false assertion of fact. This is earlier when I said, wait, hold on. If the statement is, quote, if Kim and Kris, or if, I shouldn't say quote, I'm paraphrasing, but if Kim and Kris, Ray J apparently said, paraphrasing, if Kim and Kris were charged with a RICO, I would believe it. I might believe it. If they were charged with a RICO, I might believe it, is what he said. That's not really a statement of fact. It's like a hypothetical on what could happen in the future on his belief. Second, Ray J said, they cannot show that I intentionally published those statements. Third, plaintiffs cannot prove that I made any challenged statement, this is Ray J's side, with actual malice. And fourth, the litigation privilege bars liability for statements. So, I mean, y'all are probably now familiar with the litigation privilege, but it's basically like gives you a free-for-all to just say any and make any allegation that you want to, as long as you say it in a lawsuit. Now, I don't particularly think that that always works out for the best, because that allows people like Lima Yavrimovich and Jamie Gilmore, Gilmour, and the rest to make false statements about someone under penalty of perjury, and it's very, very difficult to then prevail on a defamation claim. But that is the law of the land, so the litigation privilege bars liability for these statements, because he said when he was on Twitch and he walked off camera and he was talking about this RICO, he was really, truly in good faith about to sue them for RICO, he said. Now, as to the defamation claim, Kim and Kris cannot show that the challenged statements are slanderous on their face, because they do not fall under any of the 4 categories of California Civil Code Section 46. As to the false light publicity claim only, plaintiffs cannot demonstrate that any of the challenged statements were offensive. Right, like, okay, they got a lawsuit coming down the pipe is not an offensive statement, because offensive has to be like meet the legal definition. It's not just like, oh, well, anybody would be offended by having something like that said about them. That's not the legal definition of offensive under this statute. Kayla said, wait, if he's on Twitch live streaming, wouldn't that be intentionally publishing those statements? Well, I don't know is the answer. But according to Ray J, he said he wasn't on Twitch. He said his segment of the show ended. He walked off camera, and then he was kind of just making statements, but he thought that when he went off camera, somebody had turned his mic off, but they had not done that. So it'll be up for an issue of, I think, factual dispute, whether or not, you know, he intentionally published those statements. And that's if you take him for his word. You know what I mean? He's not particularly a reliable narrator necessarily. So then this is his anti-slap lawsuit. These are his arguments. He talks again about the S-tape and the fake lawsuit. I'm going to kind of paraphrase through this part because we've read these facts a few times now. 2006, Kris Jenner coordinated, according to Ray J, Kris Jenner coordinated the release of the S-tape that Kim and Ray J had filmed in Cabo. Kris and Kim and people from Vivid Entertainment released the tape and agreed that Kim would file a bogus lawsuit against Vivid that framed the tape as leaked to generate publicity. Ray J said he fell out with the Kardashian Jenners after his mom, Sonia, discovered that Kim and her siblings had incurred over $750,000 to credit card charges and credit cards maintained by the Norwood family. Then they entered into a settlement agreement after that first episode of the Kardashians aired in 2022. They went to mediation. They signed an agreement which basically said nobody's going to talk about the sex tape no more, and we're going to move on with our lives. In June 2024, Ray J did an interview or two where he answered questions about the S tape, but he didn't bring it up, he says. And pretty much, the situation started to bubble up, we'll say. Then there was the trial of Diddy. He has a background in trolling. Okay. He says, prior to the release of the tape, Ray J said he had successfully pursued a career in music and acting, but the portrayal of him as the tape's leaker affected his professional opportunities in those fields. So he pivoted into reality entertainment, streaming, and technology ventures, achieving some success despite these obstacles. A lot of times reality TV has staged storylines. He goes into the chat GPT stuff. We are about to file a lawsuit on the Kardashians out here for federal RICO and civil RICO and coercion and everything else. Do you have all the files? He gets again into the statements made on Twitch. We've talked about this already. Now, on October 2nd, 2025, I think it was the 1st, Kim and Kris sued Ray J. They cited this statement on TMZ. They cited this statement on Twitch. And they brought 2 causes of action, which are defamation and false light invasion of privacy. They go through the legal standard and the process of anti-SLAPP, which is step 1. The defendant, that's Ray J, has to show his challenged statements arise from protected activity, and then the burden will shift to the plaintiff to establish probability of success on the claim. Now, the argument is Ray J's statements are protected activity under California law and under the Constitution by default, by extension. He said, statements are protected if they occurred in a place open to the public or in a public forum in connection with an issue of public interest. The statements that Ray J made concern 4 high-profile public figures subject to public fascination. That's Kim Kardashian, Kris Jenner, Ray J, and Sean P. Diddy Puff Daddy Combs. And 3 issues of public interest. The Diddy trial, RICO in general, and the S tape. These were also streamed on a public platform, Tubi and Twitch. The statements also constitute conduct in furtherance of the exercise of constitutional right of petition or the constitutional right of free speech in connection with a public issue or public interest. Remember when I said and constitutional right by extension? So he's saying, look, California law protects me, but also so does the actual Constitution. The public issues implicated by the statements are obvious. The functional relationship between statements and public conversation contributes to public discourse through the statements themselves. They were disseminated through. And so basically he's saying, look, you want to know how you know it's an issue of public concern? How fast it went viral. If all these people didn't care, look at the thousands and thousands, some up to millions of people who were resharing and making headlines. The fact that it went viral in the first place shows it was an issue of public concern, which I think is actually a smart and strong argument. Okay. Plaintiffs cannot show a probability of prevailing on their defamation claims. So the burden will shift to them, and they can't help themselves. They're going to lose. The First Amendment, Ray J says, protects statements of opinion on matters of public concern that do not contain or imply a provably false assertion. I'm not going to get too much into the specifics here. Let's see. Let me scroll. Plaintiffs cannot show that Twitch statements were intentionally published. That's up for debate. Actual malice is a big one, and that's how I ended up winning my federal case 3 times, and how I anticipate winning the federal case on appeal, which it is now up for appeal. Plaintiffs are public figures. So to prove defamation and false light publicity, plaintiffs have to show by clear and convincing evidence that Ray J acted with actual malice. That is to say, Ray J has to have been saying these things knowing it was a lie. And I don't think they're going to be able to do that. So then here comes Kris. I think there's actually, okay, so all that to say, I think there's actually a pretty strong chance that Ray J might get at least some of these allegations dismissed. I actually think there's a pretty strong chance that some of these actually are going to be fully dismissed under anti-SLAPP, and then Kim Kardashian and Kris Jenner are going to owe him more money. I think there is a chance. Now, I don't know what'll happen for sure, but the judge has not decided on this anti-SLAPP as of the time of the beginning of the recording of this video. So let's move on to another filing that I wanted to show y'all today in today's live stream. And this one is Kris and Kim trying to compel arbitration of the cross complaint. Now, TLDR, they ended up getting awarded. They ended up getting awarded this request. So let's read what it is they were asking. Uh-oh, not again. The rainbow wheel of doom. Okay, it stopped. All right. So they say, let's see. They want to compel Ray J. Remember, they sued him, then he sued them back. So they're saying, no, he can't sue us back. No, ma'am. He's bound to arbitration. And we're going to ask you, Your Honor, to make us go to arbitration and to stay, basically to put on pause, all of the proceedings and the discovery having anything to do with what Ray J wants to sue for while the motion is pending. And after it's granted, pending the completion of arbitration. We submit this motion and the applicable portions on the ground that Ray J entered into a valid and binding settlement agreement. We further seek a stay of all proceedings on his cross complaint, but they don't want to slow down their proceedings. They only want to seek a stay on his cross complaint. While this motion is pending and after, so until the arbitrator comes up with what they're going to do. This motion is based on this notice of motion. Okay, so then we'll get into the motion itself. Ray J cross complaint is a transparent attempt to censor the Kardashians and punish them for exercising their right to defend their reputation. So it's like both of them are basically just like, it's like the Spider-Man like meme, like no you, no you, no you, no you, no you. And it's like, wait, I actually kind of agree with both of them. Both of them have the right to say what they want to say publicly, but here's the issue. They entered into a confidentiality agreement, so it does kind of complicate things. Do they have the First Amendment right to defend their reputations by suing him for defamation if they agreed not to sue him for defamation? I guess the arbitrators are going to let us know. Ray J, according to the Jenner Kardashians, publicly and repeatedly has accused them of being targets of a federal RICO investigation worse than Diddy's. He does not deny he knew the statement was false when he made it. Rather than accepting responsibility for his misconduct, he brought a meritless cross complaint against the Jenners. And his filing of the lawsuit actually breached the settlement agreement between the parties. Kardashian and Jenner sued Ray J for defamation. Among other things, the litigation privilege immunizes Kardashian and Jenner, but the court does not need to delve into any of this. Ray J's cross complaint suffers from a more fundamental threshold problem. The agreement on which Ray J brings his cross complaint has evoked the agreement. Okay, At the bottom, this motion represents a straightforward application of the Federal Arbitration Act. The parties executed the agreement, or redacted. Hold on, let me just read through here. Let's see. They sued him. He breached the confidential settlement agreement, allegedly, according to the Kardashians. Ray J answered the complaint, making a general denial. Okay, so basically they want to force his claims into arbitration, but this does nothing to address the anti-slap that he filed. So then they start going to court on some of this stuff. So now I want to bring up the minute order of what actually happened on one of the status hearings that they went to. Okay, so this is from January 2026, and it's a 2-page minute order, like basically like a notes from what went down inside the courtroom. On December 15th, 2025, Kim and Kris and Ray J filed Kim and Kris filed a motion to compel arbitration of the cross complaint. So they didn't want to compel arbitration of their complaint. They wanted their complaint to be all done out in the public, but they didn't want Ray J's arguments against them to be public. The court said the motion was fully briefed and set for a hearing on January 20th. Also, on December 15th, Kris and Kim filed a motion to seal certain evidence and arguments submitted in support of their motion to compel arbitration. That motion is set for hearing in March. Okay. So the motions to seal should be heard before the motion to compel arbitration. This court has not reviewed the motions to seal, and the court expresses no view on the merits. But the court notes that the motions to seal, as with any other motion filed in court, can be granted or it might be denied. If the motions to seal are denied, the moving party must make a choice. Within 10 days, the moving party may notify the court that the lodged materials may be filed unsealed and considered by the court. If the moving party does not do so, the lodged materials will be returned to the moving party, will not become part of the public file, and will not be considered by the court. For reasons of both logic and judicial economy, the sealing issue should be fully resolved before the court can consider the merits of the underlying case. The court advances and continues the hearing. So they were supposed to have the hearing, but they didn't. It got continued on the motion to seal to March 23rd. Well, that brings us up to pretty recently, right? The court advances and pushes the can down the road, the motion to compel arbitration. So the judge didn't decide on either of these issues. Okay, so everything got pushed down the road. All right, so let's look at the next filing here. We're actually making some good progress. Oh, wait, hold on. So then Kim and Kris and them file an opposition to Ray J's anti-slap. And remember, I said I think Ray J actually has some pretty strong anti-slap arguments. I don't think the whole case is going to get dismissed, but I actually think he's made pretty strong arguments for why at least some of those statements do fall under protected statements, which would still mean Kim and Kris have to pay some of his legal fees, which is crazy. But I mean, as my opinion, as someone who is just a girl on the internet, but has also actually won an anti-slap suit in California, or a motion. Okay. So Kim and Kris oppose the anti-slap motion. Of course they do. They don't want to pay his legal fees. So let's get to the beginning. During more than 2 decades, his relationship, he's tried to capitalize off his outdated connection to the Jenners. He wants to breathe life into his relevance as a faded pop culture figure. He's a self-proclaimed troll. He creates chaos through contrived fights designed to provoke, boost ratings, drive clicks. Last year, he targeted the Kardashians by accusing them of committing racketeering crimes. He falsely claimed that the feds are coming for them. The Kardashians were being charged for racketeering. He was about to drop a RICO on them. We all know this. He argues he didn't intend to make these statements. He didn't intentionally publish them. He also argues that the statements were statements of they were not reasonably susceptible to defamatory meaning. He said, and this, I'm just breezing through this because we've already read his anti-slap, so I'm just kind of like breezing through. Y'all can pause and read this if you want to. Third, they claim that, and this is them opposing his anti-slap. Like they're saying, no, this isn't protected activity. No, he defamed. It's not protected activity. Litigation privilege, they say, does not shield his statements because he made them to third parties. unaffiliated with the present litigation. And fifth, the Kardashians already met their minimum burden to demonstrate Norwood acted with actual malice because he is a troll and has a history of making false statements. This is a very, very piss poor argument, if you're asking me, on the behalf of the Kardashians. I really don't think they substantially tackle Ray J's anti-slap arguments. So then they get into the TMZ statements. And that's the one where it's like on the Diddy documentary where he's like, if there was a RICO, I might believe it. And then he talks about to drop a federal RICO on the Kardashians. Twitch statements caught like wildfire and they went viral. His statements caused harm to the Kardashians, they claim. And they say they are likely to prevail on their claim. He said they're not, right? The burden has shifted to them. If the burden shifts to them, I should say, I don't know if it has or hasn't. I'm not the judge. But if the burden shifts to them, which it would if Ray J made these statements as a public figure about public figures on matters of public concern in a public forum, he shifted, if so, then he shifted the burden to them. Now they have the burden to prevail, to show the court that they're likely to prevail on their defamation claim. The Kardashians have to show that their claims have minimal merit. The elements of a defamation claim are what? Number one, it's a publication published to a third party. Number two, it's false statement. Number three, it has to be defamatory. Number four, it has to be unprivileged. So a privileged statement, a protected statement is not defamation. And it has to injure or cause special damage. Ray J published the defamatory statements. He does not dispute that he published them. They were false statements of fact. That's going to have to come down to the judge deciding it. His statements were not inactionable opinion, they say. So they basically rail up against him. And not only that, they say because his statements were defamatory per se, they don't have to show special damages. Now, your opinion on that is as good as mine. Okay. I don't really know. I don't really know how it's going to turn out. It will be very interesting. But the fact that the judge still hasn't decided on whether or not to dismiss any of Kim and Kris's claims under Ray J's anti-slap motion made me want to make this video today. And I do have a few more documents to get into. But I need to do something real quick here in the back end. Hold on. Okay. So let's see. Okay, now we have a minute order about the anti-slap. Okay, so now let's see what the notes are from the court on this. Remember, the first thing that we just looked at on the minute order was the courtroom notes from the motions to seal, but it really didn't touch on the anti-slap motion. Now we have notes from inside the courtroom pretty much. Like, this is called a minute order. Where it kind of gives us an overview of what happened in the court. And this was that March 3rd, 2026 hearing. Pursuant to government codes and rules and etc., we are going to appoint a shorthand reporter in the case. The matters are called for hearing and the motion is argued. Now, we don't have the transcript, but suffice it to say, the two sides argued about the anti-slap. The two documents we just read, Ray J trying to get the whole thing dismissed, plus attorney's fees, plus costs. And Kim and Kris saying, no, he doesn't have the right to do that, no. So they went in March, 2 months ago, and argued about it in court. The court said, having considered the moving, opposition, and reply papers, and considering the argument of the lawyers, the court rules as follows. The parties are to submit additional briefing. So the judge needed more information. No later than, I think it was a week from then, right? This is March 3rd. So 7 days later, March 10th, And at that time, the court is going to take the matter under submission. On the court's own motion, the hearing on the SLAPP lawsuit is scheduled, that was scheduled for today, is continued to a week from today. Notice is waived. Okay, so the judge, see what I mean? Like, he didn't just immediately say, no, Ray J, we're going to trial. It was like the judge wanted more briefing. The judge wanted more things to be filed. Now, something else came up in the meantime while the judge was still mulling that over. And as I mentioned earlier, the judge is still mulling that over as of May 18th, 2026, at least when I checked this morning. On April 24th, this comes down the pipe, a trial preparation order. So this kind of gives me the indication that the judge might not be dismissing all of the claims, if he's dismissing any at all. Before he decides on the anti-SLAPP, he says, oh, here's an order about trial prep. Number 1, meet and confer. At least 18 calendar days before the final status conference, the parties have to meet and confer. At least 11 days before the final status conference, the parties' counsel and any self-represented parties have to meet and confer in person or by telephone or video conference to do the following: discuss and prepare the documents required, motions in limine binder, trial binder. They have to discuss and make a good faith effort to stipulate the authenticity and admissibility of each trial exhibit. They have to discuss and make a good faith effort to stipulate and resolve each motion in limine, and stipulate to ultimate facts and legal issues, discuss and in good faith make an effort to settle the case. So before a case goes to trial, a civil case, the judge will say, you have to meet and make a good faith effort to try and see if you can reach a resolution before we waste our time in the court. If y'all can work it out amongst yourselves, this is your last shot to do it, and you have to do it. The judge says in this order, and this was again filed on April 24th, so like less than 1 month ago, each party has to file a trial brief with their claims, defenses, major legal issues, relief, calculation of damages, and any other information. They have to give me a witness list, an exhibit list, and both of y'all have to come together and put it together. Proposed jury instructions, what you can agree on and what you can't. So why would the court go through all of this and file all of this if he was about to dismiss all of it? I don't think he really would. So that's why I was saying earlier, among other reasons, I think the judge might allow some of these claims to go forward to trial, and some of these claims he's maybe going to dismiss or maybe not at all. But the fact that he hasn't just dismissed Ray J's anti-SLAPP motion does make me think he is considering still dismissing some parts of this case and it won't go to trial. Like, if you remember the Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni dispute, now that was in federal court and that was in civil. It was civil federal court in New York. It had nothing to do with California. I mean, it did have a little bit to do with California, actually, if we're being literal. But the judge dismissed like half the lawsuit a few days before the trial was supposed to happen, like less than a month before the trial. The judge dismissed the substantive parts of the lawsuit. And then ultimately that led the parties to settle. And I'm wondering if that might be what's going to happen with this Ray J and Kardashians dispute. Like, is the judge about to, take a lot of the teeth out of this lawsuit such that it makes more sense for these parties to just settle with each other? Ray J kind of admitted the main reason for him filing this lawsuit at all is because he needed to clear his name. And so because the Kardashians were making statements about him on their show, he's also saying, like, my kids think I'm the leaker. And I think, like, by filing these lawsuits, he really has at least brought into doubt whether he was the leaker or not. I'm sure there's going to be people that always do believe that he was. But who knows? So the judge says in this order, joint chart of page and line designations for deposition of former testimony. So the judge is saying, okay, these are the things that have to be submitted to me before the trial. Motions in limine, and a motion in limine is something that actually was just decided on today, for an example, in the Luigi Mangione case. In the Luigi Mangione case, the judge decided today in the state court, in the New York state court case, that Luigi Mangione, some of that evidence that was taken from Luigi Mangione and his backpack and all that, the gun, this, that, and the other. Some of that evidence is not going to be able to be seen by the jury, while some of it will. And the reason some of it won't be seen by the jury is because Luigi Mangione's lawyer, who happens to also be Diddy's lawyer, Mark Agnifilo, in his in Luigi's case, Karen Agnifilo filed what's called procedurally motions in limine, or a motion in limine, which is basically saying, look, Your Honor, we don't want the jury seeing this evidence because XYZ LMNOP. Maybe it was wrongfully procured. Maybe it violates a rule of evidence, whatever the case may be. And they filed this motion in limine, and they got some stuff kept out. Now, some stuff is not kept out. Some stuff is still in. But in this case, the judge is saying the motions in limine have to be noticed for a hearing at the final status conference. Rules for exhibit binders, rules for the trial binders. So if the judge is telling them to start preparing all this stuff, I have a feeling he's going to let at least some of these go forward, and it's going to go to court. And you can best believe I'm be covering it. I will be covering the case, the trial, when it happens. Okay, let me see. So one of Ray J's, hold on. This thing's still trying to read my hard drive again. I'm gonna have to take it out and put it back in again. Somebody said, we know the Kardashians will do anything for fame. They don't really care how it makes them look, in my opinion. It could be. Let me see if this is, okay, yeah, there we go. All right. Oh, girl, hold on. Give me a second, or a moment. Okay, yep, I gotta get a new wire for my hard drive, I think. I have to literally get up and walk across the room. Probably not the best setup here for live streaming, but whatever. Okay, I'm gonna pull that document back up. So remember how the judge wanted to see more briefing from the parties on the anti-slap motion before he decided on the anti-slap motion, that Ray J wanted to get the whole thing dismissed on anti-slap. So the judge actually wanted some more briefing. He's like, I need more information from y'all. And Ray J did actually go ahead and supply that more briefing on the 10th of March, it looks like. So let me pull that document up. I'm trying to get through as much as I possibly can before the premiere on BJ Investigates starts at 3:33. So we'll just get to as much as we can. All right. So here's Ray J's additional briefing that he provided to the judge, and the judge again asked him for this supplemental brief involving or regarding special damages. Remember, that was one of his arguments. They can't prove special damages. No one disputes defamatory language not libelous on his face is not actionable unless the plaintiff proves it has suffered special damage as a proximate result of the claims of the allegations or the supposedly defamatory statements. Special damages is defined by the applicable statute. All damages that plaintiff alleges, they must be pled and proved precisely. Okay, so we get a little information about what happened at that March 3rd hearing, okay? At the March 3rd hearing, plaintiffs, that's Kim and Kris, argued that emotional distress alone can constitute a special damage. That's definitely not the case. I know that's not true. They are not correct. The O'Hara court did not hold that emotional distress itself can constitute special damages. So basically what they're trying to say is Kim Kardashian was sad and her feelings were hurt. So because of that, Ray J can't sue her for defamation. Because of that, Ray J can't win on an anti-slap, and she should be allowed to sue him for defamation, all because her feelings were hurt. It's just simply not true. I already know that's not true. Okay, so that's the whole thing. Okay, so this was the briefing that the judge wanted more information on. But Kris and Kim, they went ahead and were crybabies and whiny babies and filed their thing in response. I know this is tedious. I know we have read a lot of court documents today. Trust me, nobody is more tired than me. But I want to, this is my whole purpose of this channel, is to help y'all understand what exactly is really going on. You don't have to listen to TMZ. You don't have to listen to me. You can mute me and just scroll and read these things yourself. Okay, again, I don't want anybody to forget Alex Spiro is the guy on this case. So here's Kris Jenner. She said, I make this supplemental declaration against Ray J's motion to strike. I have personal knowledge of these facts. As a result of Ray J's false statements about me and my family, I have expended thousands of dollars by her own choice. Nobody made her do that. Including in this lawsuit and working with communications professionals. Yep, the dark arts of public relations. We know she's all up in that, like white on rice. To put an end to the damaging, defamatory, and untrue statements he made, I have also incurred expenses in therapy. Oh, girl, let's see the notes. You got to show the notes. You have to file the notes. You can't just say you went to therapy. You have to show it in evidence. As a result of the emotional distress defendant has subjected me to. So she can release a sex tape of her own kid and have no emotional distress. But when somebody says she did that, then she has emotional distress. That's very weird to me. The statements that Ray J made about me, this is Kris Jenner's perspective, and my purported RICO violations in his declaration in support of his anti-slap motion are not true. So that declaration, he said they were committing crimes and this and that, she said that's not true. His allegation that I was in charge of the release and the commercial exploitation of my daughter's S-tape is absolutely false. She said I did not coordinate the release of that tape. I did not file a fake lawsuit against the porn company that released the tape in order to defraud the public and create buzz ahead of the release, as he claims, nor did I ask, make, encourage, or assist Kim in filming any tape, nor did I decide what tape to release. So she's unequivocally denying all of it. Kris Jenner is denying it all. She said, as a mother, the notion that I orchestrated or produced S-tapes involving my daughter or was involved in any way in the creation or distribution of any tapes is not only entirely untrue, but deeply offensive and harmful, and has haunted me for decades. She denies it, but I kind of don't believe her. And that's my belief and opinion. I wasn't there. That's not a fact. I was absolutely heartbroken, crushed, and devastated as a mother to see my daughter in this situation where her most intimate and private moments were exposed to the world. In no world would I ever be involved in any way, shape, or form in peddling any tapes of my daughter like this. Put a 5 in the chat if you don't believe it. Put a 6 in the chat if you believe it. Don't believe it, 5. I would put a 5. Do believe Kris? Put a 6. We'll just see. She said, I have not defrauded Ray J, nor have I extorted him. I have not engaged in a criminal enterprise or racketeering activities, and the lie that my family runs a criminal enterprise akin to the mob is outrageous and false. Thanks so much to Hot Girl Meg for the $9.99 super chat. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So now we have the declaration of Kim Kardashian coming up here. I see a lot of 5s in the chat. So I can't wait to see what Kim Kardashian sits here and tries to ignore. This is interesting, actually. This might be the most looking forward to any of the documents in this whole thing so far that I've read in the last 4 hours, or 3 hours, 27 minutes. Okay. Supplemental declaration of Kim Kardashian opposing Ray J's motion to strike. After Ray J made his false statements about me, I incurred expenses to combat his lies and manage my well-being and reputation. This included participating in therapy and working with communications, so like Jed Wallace types, legal and strategic advisors. Ray J's statements about my alleged racketeering activity, as detailed in his declaration in support of his anti-slap motion, are false. His claim that I had a plan with my mother and others to release this tape, defraud the public, and file a fake lawsuit against the corn company that released it to create buzz is a lie. In 2008, Kim Kardashian now addresses the Sonia Norwood lawsuit, the mom suing her. She said in 2008, Ray J's mother, Sonia Norwood, sued me and my siblings, claiming we had stolen hundreds of thousands of dollars from her through the unauthorized use of her credit card. No, she didn't say that. She said cards belonging to the Norwood family. So first of all, if you want to be a lawyer, Kim, you got to actually make sure what you're saying is what happened. And that's not what she said. Those were false allegations. Well, that's not what she said. Miss Norwood eventually dismissed her lawsuit pursuant. No, okay. So we're finally getting the word that lawsuit where Kim and Rob Kardashian and Kourtney and Khloe and all them were alleged to have stolen $825,000 from the Norwood family, it was settled. Kim is saying it was settled. We expressly denied any liability or wrongdoing. She said Ray J is rehashing these discredited allegations once again. No, they weren't discredited if you settled on them. They're only discredited if a jury said no. Again, I could see why this bitch didn't pass the law exam. She seems stupid to me just reading this. These allegations were false in 2008, and they are false in 2026. I have not defrauded or extorted the defendant, nor have I attempted to do so. My family and I are not part of a criminal enterprise. We have not conducted racketeering activity, nor have we profited off racketeering activities. XOXO, Kim Kardashian with the lowercase k's. Okay, well, there you go. I mean, it doesn't really necessarily to me seem believable. But then there's another minute order. So the minute order comes around for the motions to seal. Remember, the judge kicked the can down the road to March 30th? Well, here we are at March 30th, and I have the minute order. Again, I did spend over $100 of my own money this morning to get these documents. Okay. Nature of the hearing, March 30th, 2026. Hearing on motion to seal. Kim and them's motion to seal, and a hearing on motion to seal. Their notice of motion to seal. The matters are called for hearing. The motion is argued. Consider. Okay. So the court says, having considered the moving, opposition, and reply papers and the argument of the lawyers, the court rules as follows. Now remember, y'all, this is not the anti-slap. He still has not ruled on the anti-slap yet. This is on motions to seal. The court takes the hearing under submission and makes no decision. So womp womp. They went all to a court hearing, and it ended up not even being decided that day. So this right here is the next document, and probably be the final document I'll be able to get to today. Maybe not. Maybe not. We'll see. Is one that was filed by Kim and them's lawyers, and it's just a notice that lodged records may be filed unsealed. Pursuant to the court's order on March 30th, the following lodged records may be filed unsealed. That's plaintiff, that's Kim and Kris's motion to compel arbitration. Okay, so we read that already. So some of these have been unsealed. Exhibit 1 to the declaration of one of the lawyers in support of the motion to compel arbitration, and the defendant previously submitted his declaration with bank account numbers redacted. So basically, okay, so this is where you got that headline. This document right here is where you got that headline, like Kim tried to keep it sealed, but she lost in the bid to keep it sealed. So I think that's like actually a nice little ribbon tying up today's episode. I am absolutely exhausted, and we will be going over together to do a little bit more Ray J and versus Kardashians, because I want to get into a little bit more of the recent statements Ray J has made and doubled down on a lot of this stuff. So if you stay where you are, you will be redirected over there to that one, and I will see y'all in the live chat on BJ Investigates. Make sure you're subscribed. You like the stream on both channels. That's all I really had for this one. In the meantime, opinions ain't defamation. Neither are facts. Okay, facts ain't defamation, neither are opinions. Everybody is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law, including the Card Jenners, including Ray J, whether you like them, you don't like them or not. And like I said, I'll see you over there. Bye.